Car number 46, Hugh Plum. Tim Probert, his best ever qualifying position in his 99th start in the Michelin Pilot Challenge for Murillo Racing. That's number 65 Mercedes, will start 5th. Row 2 of the grid, Alan Brynjolfsson, the championship leader in car number 7 for Volt Racing. That's an Aston Martin Vantage GT4, alongside another Murillo Racing Mercedes, car number 56, making his debut this season. Filling in for Kenton Cook, who's racing elsewhere. That would be Mark Miller onto the front row. Damien Faneshi from Argentina, a brilliant debut for Riley Motorsports in its Toyota Gazoo Racing, Toyota of Latin America. That's a Toyota Supra in car number 14, but on the pole position for the first time in his young career for Murillo Racing, Mercedes AMG GT4, car number 72. The pole sitter is Kenny Murillo.
Welcome along. If you're just joining us, it's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. We're at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, just outside of Oshawa, Bowmanville, Ontario. Just under 2.5 miles, 10 corners around this circuit, which hasn't changed very much since it was first carved out of the countryside in the early 1960s, and provides a real challenge for everyone concerned. Some fabulous corners. The commitment of turn number 8, which is super quick after you've come up the curving Mario Andretti straight, but also turn 1, turn 2, blind over the top of the hill there, and then in the braking area, down through the dip, and then climbing up to turn 5, which is Moss Corner. It's good to have your company. Before I introduce you to Jeremy Shaw, let's get down to the pit lane. Shea Adam is with us with the storylines, and we'll start in TCR. Shea, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John, and it is beautiful out here for now. There are clouds up in the sky that look a bit menacing, but hopefully they will stay away. Alrighty, so let's start with TCR. As you said, our winners in TCR for the Watkins Glen round were Canadians. It was Mark Wilkins and Robbie Wickens. They drove together to Canada after the race on Saturday. They were here on Sunday, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Hyundai Canada appearances and shoots. 24 interviews over the span of 3 days for those two guys. Well, Thursday morning, en route to the track, Robbie gets a call. Baby Wickens is coming. You have to get back to Indy. So he drives late into the night to get home to welcome his new baby boy who was born on Friday. Wesley Joseph Wickens is here and healthy, and Mom Carly is doing well too. So Saturday, Rob catches a private jet back here to race in front of Canadian fans. First time he's ever driven a Canadian Tire Motorsport Park with hand controls will be during his first stint in today's race. In GS, the big storylines to keep an eye on, Jeremy mentioned, we've got Mark Miller filling in for Eric Foss's co-driver, who is being filled in for Jeff Mosing, who has started out the season, but Kenton Cook, racing over in Europe, unable to be in Canada this weekend, so Mark Miller got the call up. He has raced with Foss before. That was in a Viper many, many years ago, but he is loving this Mercedes. And on the complete opposite end of the field, the Hardpoint Porsche sustained heavy damage after a big crash in turn 1 in practice 1. The car is out, getting ready to take the green flag. It will be Nick Galante who sees that, but they have had minimal track running so far this week. And oh, by the way, this comes off the back of a fire in their GTD hauler when leaving Watkins Glen. So when speaking with some team members earlier, they said, we've had enough of our bad luck. We're ready for some good stuff now.
And Jeremy Shaw, thank you, Shea. And Jeremy Shaw alongside me here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. In terms of tactics, these 2-hour races, fairly simple for the TCRs. If nothing interferes, they can do this on one stop, correct?
They can do. Often, though, they will elect to do 2. There is a minimum drive time, 40 minutes, which has to be served. That means there's 80 minutes that they have to negotiate for the rest of the race. Well, these cars can't really do 80 minutes. That's a bit of a stretch. So but it is possible to do it on one stop. Either you get lucky with the cautions, or there's a lot of fuel saving involved.
And as far as GS is concerned, we've seen this 2 hours effectively being broken up into three chunks, so 2 stops. Now, where you take those 3 chunks, whether you make them all identical lengths or whether you go long and then do a couple of shorter ones, that's going to be down to the tactics and how any yellow flags fly.
It is, and we've had quite a few yellow flags in recent races. Let's hope we have a nice clean race here this afternoon.
Yeah, because when we do, we get superb racing. The broadcast team will be looking for our Michelin moments of the race from TCR and from GS. That, in our opinion, will be the team or the individual who has done something that has positively impacted the race. It might be an overtake. We had Bill Oberlin overtaking for the lead in our last race at Watkins Glen International, round the outside into the bus stop, by the way, at Watkins Glen International, if you don't mind. We had Robert Wiggins and the brilliant strategy and his pace in TCR. So we'll be looking for two winners for our Michelin moment of the race, and they'll get a set of brand new Michelin Pilot racing tyres for their next time out. So, on the front row of the TCR grid, Tyler Maxson for Brian Herter Autosport in the number 77 Hyundai, alongside the Unitronic Audi of Chris Miller. But at the front of the GS field, it's AMG and Riley Motorsports Toyota Supra GT4. It's the two Murillo Racing AMGs that go through. Difference in the colours of those cars. Look at the difference of the bonnet. You'll notice the hood, I suppose I should say. The 72 has got the blue hood, and that is how you can tell it apart from the 56 of Mark Miller, who's just slipped into second place there. Away go the TCRs on the split start, and immediately Tyler Maxson for Brian Herter Autosport gets the advantage over Chris Miller, who drops into the wheel tracks. Third place is Parker Chase for Brian Herter in the number 98 through the newly resurfaced areas of the track over turn 2 and turn 3. And good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are around the world. If you're outside the US and your territory does not have a network TV deal, watching us live flag to flag, no interruptions for the next 2 hours. Settle back and enjoy some of the best racing on the planet. Perfect conditions here. 25 Celsius in the air, 26 on the track, not too harsh for the Michelin tyres, and we are racing. The countdown has begun, and a pretty sensible start from everybody. Trying to make up positions was the number 40, the pink Mustang. James Pesek going side by side with Michael McCann in the Porsche as they were coming through the final turns of the lap. And coming into Moss Corner for the first time of action, asking a big dive down the inside by Adam Brynjolfsson on Hugh Plum in the TGM, number 46 Porsche. That was repelled, and the top five then are the two Murillo Racing Mercedes, 72 from 56. Then the Riley Motorsports Supra running up high there, that's the number 14 car. Then Hugh Plum, then Alan Brynjolfsson in that bright highlighter yellow. Number 7, the Volt Racing car. And Alan Brynjolfsson looking racy early on. His job, keep those cars ahead in sight, Jeremy. That's what all of these drivers have got to do. Hand this car over once they've done their 40 minutes drive time. Yeah, that's exactly right. And a bunch of really cool stories in qualifying. And one not so good one, of course, with the crash for Dylan McEwen and that number 95 car, which got itself back in the mix for the championship with the win last time out, but unable even to take the start in this race. That's a great shame. But what a fine effort that was by Kenny Murillo to put his car on the pole position, and also his teammate Tim Probert there. Remarkable effort for Tim. He is 70 years of age and he qualified in the 5th position. Brilliant effort, Tim. Absolutely superb. And in his 99th start, by the way, his teammate Eric Foss, this is his 100th start in this championship this weekend. We talked about Ted Giovannis making his 100th start last week. Also, remiss of me, I didn't fail to notice that it was Chris Wilson's 100th start last week as well. So taking part in number 101 this weekend. Another centurion then in the Michelin Pilot Challenge as we get underway. And we have had a penalty from race control at the start. However, very fortunate for Connor Attrell, because the Hyundai Racing Canada Elantra NTCR, the number 88, changed lanes at the start of the race. Now that has had drive-throughs in the past, but they have been given a warning. So a bullet well and truly dodged, Matrix style there, for that number 88 car, Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, and I'm pleased for them. I mean, making their debut this weekend, father and son. Bob is dad, Connor is son. They raced this car, this Hyundai Elantra, in the TCR regularly in the FEL series north of the border here, what used to be the Canadian Touring Car Championship, and making their debut this weekend. They've had problems through practice and qualifying. They had radio problems, they had electronic problems, they had fuel system problems. So, hey, give them a bit of a break. I'm all in favour of that. Well done him. So, I mean, he was at the back of the grid in any case because of the problems they had in qualifying. So, yeah, give him a pass on that one, and welcome to the series. I know they've had a tough day yesterday, but good to see that number 88 car, the Hyundai Racing Canada entry, making its debut in the Michelin Pilot Challenge.
5 minutes completed then, no major changes at the front of the field. Alan Brynjolfsson just put in the fastest lap last time around in that Volt Racing, that very brightly coloured yellow number 7, 5th position in that Aston Martin Vantage. It's AMG GT4 by 2, then the Toyota Supra as down at the bottom of turn 2, at the bottom of the hill. 61 of Gavin Ernstone in the dark grey RSR Porsche. Excuse me, RSR Audi. I knew I would say that when RSR was involved. Just went a little bit wide, lost a position there last time around to Roy Block in the... to Robert Wiggins in the number 33 Brian Hearn Autosport Elantra. Roy Block's one ahead. At the front of TCR, it's still Elantra. Tyler Maxon 77 from Travis Hill. The TH Motorsport. He's having a drive through the field there, Jeremy. He
certainly is. He started in the fourth position, so really good qualifying run. Another local driver, of course, races regularly in that FBL series, and they've got the team has brought 2 brand new Audi RS3 LMS TCRs. They made their debut last weekend at Watkins Glen, just to kind of dip their toe in the water to prepare for their home race here in Canada at Tooth Autosport team, Tooth TWOTH, 2 THs. There's 2 Travis Hill and his brother Trevor who run that team, and a brilliant early start there to be running in the 2nd position, so hats off to them also.
Let's head to share Adam down in the pit lane, who has Bill Oberlin.
Bill, you're in your street clothes, but you're supposed to be in this race. Why are you not participating?
Yeah, this is not what we were aiming for. The car was great. We won the race in Watkins Glen. We come here, the car was quite good, and Dylan in qualifying had a slight little odd encounter, and he smashed the wall. And it didn't look bad on TV, so I didn't expect it to be so bad. When the car came in, the rear suspension was completely destroyed, the subframe moved over, the front suspension was destroyed, and the entire strut towers were moved over. That car's done. So now we have to eventually, I think, go to our backup car and head to the next race. So I feel bad for Dylan, because Dylan never makes a mistake. The guy is clean as ever. So I feel bad for him, and the Turner guys put all this effort in. But we'll be back.
All love for the 96 today, then.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Support Robbie and Vin and hope they can bring home the win.
Massive championship implications, John.
Huge championship implications there, Jeremy Shaw, with that car not able to race today.
Exactly right. They hold themselves up to 5th position in the points, still 400 behind the leaders, Alan Brynjolfsson and Trent Hinman, who had some good news, good news again last weekend. But they've got a handy lead in the championship. But yeah, it was looking really good there for Bill and Dylan. They were fast in practice, and unfortunately just one minor mistake is all it takes on this track, isn't it? We've seen it before. It's a super fast ultra high commitment racetrack, and one mistake can have big consequences. Unfortunately it did yesterday for Dylan Mako, and great shame for him, but as Bill said, he's super reliable, really good driver, a former champion of course in this class as well. So unlikely now to win the championship this season, but they can certainly finish off the season strong, having had that win last weekend.
Hello to Gareth Evans, who's in his man cave, the shed, working on the R26B for his that's the engine for his Mazda 787 Very good. Tuned into us here. Plenty of people staying on this evening as well at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Good evening to you. 90.7 FM and around the world on RS2, www.imsaradio.com. Good to have your company. Still the two Murillo Racing AMG GT4s out in front, 72 from 56. Riley Motorsports with the Supra in third as they go through. It's the battles in TCR, the usual that we are likely to see. Tyler Maxon's made a wee bit of a bid for freedom at the front of the field, but now gets caught up on the back of the GS field, and this is where things are going to get really tasty in TCR, because those GT4 cars quick down the straight, but the very nimble front-wheel drive TCRs, Jeremy Shaw, will have places around this track where they are a bit quicker, and Maxon's having to pick his way through, and he's side by side with Travis Hill and with Chris Miller. Miller tries to go for the lead and takes the lead. Brilliant move in that black and yellow liquid moly car as he takes the lead for Audi, going through turn 4 into turn 5, using the opportunity that traffic afforded him.
Yeah, and that's ridiculously close. We've got the top 6, I think, TCR cars there, all in one big gaggle. Tremendous racing there, maybe even 7 actually with the Alpha in there as well, 8 perhaps with the Alpha. It's incredibly tight. A whole slew of Hyundai Elantras there, 4 of them, I think, among that lead battle, or maybe even 5. It's just tremendous racing in TCR, and really good to see. But that was a really opportunist move, wasn't it, from Chris Miller to go from third to first.
Marvellous stuff as ever, and the concentration levels huge. Right ahead of them now, Miller slips through past both of the GS cars that he was trailing there. That's the Mark Siegel driven car bomb with Peregrine, number 93 Porsche, the dark grey and green car, and Gary Ferrera in the Capstone Motorsport Mercedes. It's the light reddy pink and white car. So the whole of that lead TCR train now actually haven't got by the Gary Ferrera car, the Mark Siegel car rather. They have got by the Gary Ferrera car, but that's allowing Chris Miller to get away. He's 16th position overall and turning some really good lap times, and this is exactly what he wants, with the rest of the field behind him in TCR caught up behind Mark Siegel in that GS number 93, Jeremy.
Yeah. And this is a tremendous battle, isn't it? Really, really good fun. But again, you're right. Yeah, the TCR cars, some of the GS cars, those toward the back of the field in qualifying, the gentleman drivers in there, not quite as quick as some of these youngsters, particularly in the TCRs. I mean, Tyler Maxon, who's was started on the pole position in this class for the second time this season, and he is just 17 years of age, and there's a whole bunch of really, really gifted youngsters in this TCR field.
2TH Motorsport just getting mugged going into the final corner. Had just taken that position from the Hyundai, but they're swapping backwards and forwards all the time. It's Chris Miller who crosses the line in the lead of TCR, then Mark Siegel, who's in the GS car bomb with Peregrine Porsche, then Tyler Maxon. Paul Sittner is now down to third in the number 77, AJ Muss fourth in the number 2, Parker Chase having the battle in the 98 with the number 26, that's the Audi. But I say that it'll all change by the time I finish this sentence, as Mark Siegel, once again, it's down at the bottom of turn 2 and heading up through turn 3 to 4 that the TCRs seem to have a little bit of a performance advantage there.
Yeah, they do, don't they? They put the power down well too with that front wheel drive. They tend to sort of drag themselves out of the corner. There's a bold move on the inside of AJ Muss by, I think it was Parker Chase, one of his teammates there. They're all a whole bunch of teammates in there. Travis Hill right in the thick of that as well. He'll be loving it here. Meanwhile, Chris Miller says, thank you very much, guys. I'll see you in a little while, because he's sort of kind of checking out, at least by TCR standards, and in that number 17 Unitronics car. Yeah,
that's the yellow, black and white Audi. And he's also got past Ted Giovannis as well now, so he's up to 15th position And now that means there's going to be a couple of cars in the GS category for these TCRs to go through. A little bit of a love tap there on the 2TH car as they came out the final corner of the 2 Hyundais. Getting very close to the pit wall there as Travis Hill goes up into third. That's Parker chasing AJ Buss. It was Parker who gave it the little nudge going into the final right-hander at turn 10 there. They've all managed to survive it. A little bit of overcast, nothing to worry about. Air temperature 25 Celsius, track temperature 25 Celsius. This is just about perfect for racing right now, and we've still got 1 hour and 15 minutes to go, and Ted Giovannis has been turned around. He was just about to be passed by that group of TCR cars. That is a real shame for the TGM team owner. I think he's had a little tap. Now, was it from one of the TCR cars that came round the outside? Oh, he jinked across. He was trying to stay out of the way. And it was the Hyundai of Parker Chase, I think, that was coming through there in the 98 that just managed to get down the inside. Oh, we came from a bit far back, to be honest.
No. The TCR was already there, John. And Ted was just, I think, possibly trying to get out of the way. I don't know, but it was, no, you've got to pin that one on 64, I'm sorry, from my perspective.
I don't agree with you. I think the guy behind's got to make the pass, and he didn't. He wasn't alongside. Well, he was halfway alongside.
Okay, all right.
So we'll agree to disagree on that.
The 64 car turns sharp right.
Well, he's got to make the corner, Jeremy. You've got to turn in sometime. Let's see what race control. Let's see what race control makes of it. Meanwhile, into the pit lane, and from that battle, just behind that battle, is Rory van der Steur, the lightly coloured Hyundai Veloster. I suspect that with 2 commentators and 2 drivers, we will have at least 6 different ideas of what happened there. Bit of smoke coming off the van der Steur racing car, and in fact, it just ushered Gavin Ernstone into the pits as smoke was coming off that car, but Gavin managed to pull back out again. That was a smart bit of driving by the expat Englishman. It was coming round the outside of the slow-moving number 19, and van der Steur really with nowhere else to go other than into the pits. And Shea Adam is down there and not smelling good. Not you, Shea, sorry. That would be the car that's not smelling good.
Yeah, it smells of oil. I smell of essential oils, maybe, but no, this is motor oil, and this is not good. The car is still on, which they would have to do because it is a turbo, and it takes a while before it can spool down and then cool off to turn back on again if there was an issue that they were able to repair the pit lane and get it going once again. But the white smoke is still very softly emanating from the right-hand side of the engine compartment. Not ideal.
Could just be a pipe that's come off there. That's what they seem to be looking at, the AFC systems guys. It looks like that incident is not being looked at the moment by race control between Ted Giovannis and the number 98. And Ted's off again, and this time there's more serious damage. So was that as a result of what was... Oh no, that's Hugh Plum, that's the other car. That's the other Team GGM car.
Was running 4th.
That was 4th position, Jeremy. This is up at Moss Corner. Sorry, I saw the same coloured car and I thought there was some issue, but that was a very smoky exit at the top of the hill as the van der Steur racing car's gone behind the wall from the pit lane, although it's driving itself back to the paddock. But Hugh Plum, I think, has no forward motion. And now, did he get a thud? Or was that... Oh no, it was just slowing down from turn 4. Well, there's something we don't very often see, Jeremy. That looks like a Porsche engine problem or maybe some kind of coolant leak, but that is not good news for the car that was 4th position.
Catastrophic failure there for the number 46, and that's another car that was reasonably well placed in the championship, certainly inside the top 10. I tell you what, that team's not had a lot of luck this season, have they? And that's going to bring out the full course caution for the first time. But really interesting and exciting, I think, first 12 laps of this race. Kenny Morella there holding on to his lead, but not by much from Mark Miller. And Damien Faneshi, the Argentinian there, massive amount of experience in TC 2000 and other series down in South America, doing a fantastic job to hold on there in that 3rd position, just ahead of Alan Brynjolfsson, the championship leader, who's also doing a fine job there in 4th position. So really interesting first part of this race.
So a horrible few minutes there for Team TGM with first Ted Giovannis in the grass, but then he rejoined seemingly without damage, and he is still running. But unfortunately, the bad news is that Hugh Plum, the better placed of the two TGM cars that he drives with his brother, that car, well, it hasn't even got enough power to get itself behind the wall. There is a cut-off there, a cut-out there, which I'm sure can be utilised. We've got the GMC flatbed over there, and already the AMR safety team and the Chevy safety trucks from IMSA are there. I wonder if just a flat toe might have been a quicker way to get that off the firing line at the exit of turn number 7. But they're going to put it on the back of the truck and take it around the outside of the circuit, I think.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder what other fluid has dropped down on the racetrack too.
Point.
So even though they might have been able to get that car out of the way, although it's kind of uphill there on that exit slip road there, if you like, it would have been difficult. But certainly I think definitely the right thing to do to throw out this caution, because it was up at turn sort of 3-4 area, wasn't it, where the problem was initiated in number 46 car. So great shame for them, but and unfortunately, of course, once again, the Plum brothers won't be able to extend their streak of top 10 finishes and race wins. It was coming into this weekend, the most wins in this championship dating back to 2001 is 23, held jointly by Billy Johnson, who's also in this race, and Matt Plum. Podium finishes, that same pair, coincidentally, because they've ever driven together, I've got 49 podiums coming into this weekend. So it looks like the number 46 car, at least for Matt Plum, won't be able to add to his tally.
Shea Adam has news from Team TGM. I think it was fairly obvious, Shea, but what are the teams saying?
Yeah, just lost drive. It was a bad couple of minutes for the team with both cars having incidents around the track, but they are going to bring the 64 in when the pits open for this sequence. Top them off with fuel, make sure that everything is still good with Ted. As for Hugh out on the track, well, he's getting a tow back, and that's day done for them.
Shea Adam down there in the pit lane, Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, and Hugh Plum pretty nonplussed actually. Clearly, I would say from his body language and from how that happened that there was no real warning for that Jeremy car. Just started to slow coming over the top of the rise at turn number 4, and by turn 5 he was dead stick and just rolling along with the momentum from the downhill.
Yes, indeed, and this is the 155th start for Hugh Plum in this championship. That's the second on the all-time list. His teammate Owen Trinkler in the other car should be driving, well, he will be driving the number 64 car, sharing it with Ted Giovannis. He is the all-time leader, 175 starts coming into this weekend. That foursome between them have got well over 550 starts.
So an hour and 38 minutes of this race still to go. And pits are open for GS, and in from the sharp end of the field is the Toyota Supra GT4 that came out of 3rd place, Damien Faneshi, who has dived into the pit lane, and he's not the only one. Shea Adam is watching the pit stops.
Fuel and front tires for the Toyota. It is fuel only for the Ford Mustang 877. That is one of the two being run by PF Racing. It's fuel and tires for Turner. They're doing the right sides first. Fuel only for Frank Depew in the number 71 Rebel Rock Racing Camaro, race winner back here in 2019. And they are doing left side tires on the Stephen Cameron BMW. That's number 43. As the sound of the Porsche rumbles in, Ted Giovannis did make it into the pit lane. The first car to get back out and rolling, well, it was the 2019 race winner. Rebel Rock rules the world.
Further down the pit lane, Ted Giovannis is in. It looks like fuel only for that car. No Michelin tyres coming out. He's a little bit far away from the pit lane wall. And up, the car is now going up on its jack, so it will be a tyre change there. Took a little bit of time to get the fuel hose in. And right behind them, It's not that tight here, but might have to have a little push back for the BMW that sits behind them. That's the, I think that's the number 43 that's pitted next to them. Oh no, good bit of driving. Yes, it was indeed. Sean Quinlan, who brought that Damien Cameron Racing GS number 43 in. Really well judged by Sean to realise that he could get out without needing the pushback. So we'll open up next time for TCR, and Ted Giovannis getting 4 new tyres. Just before the pit stop for TCR is enacted, just some news coming to us, some very sad news that a very good friend of ours and of many people around the world of endurance racing and classic motor racing, Alan de Cadney, has died today. Alan has been very good to us at Radio Le Mans and Radio Show Limited down through the years. I've had the pleasure of working with him and interviewing him on many occasions and just spending time in his company. The word unique is oft overused, but Alan, or Decad as we all knew him, could tell a story like nobody else. Mine, he had some damn good stories to tell, to be quite honest. Raced a car of his own name at Le Mans and did so much with his life, more than most people would fit into 10 lifetimes. Simply irreplaceable. I'll miss his smile, I'll miss his stories, and I miss his kindness and his friendship to me that he showed down through the years. Alan de Cadney, who we've just heard, sadly has died today. TCR cars coming into the pit lane. Shea Adam.
We have the JDC Miller Motorsport Audi coming in and hitting its marks first. This will be Chris Miller staying aboard and taking fuel only. We've also got a plethora of Hyundais into the pit lane. The first one that I can see is the 98. That's the one with the Texas flags on the mirrors. That is fuel only for them. The championship winners from last year, number 1, fuel only for them as well. The Mighty Alpha into the pit lane. This is fuel only for that black car. We've got the 33 and the 54 Hyundais in as well. Those two are the ones that have drivers with hand controls, and those two are doing fuel only. And oh yes, we've got Roadshagger in. That was fuel only for them. And who is the last car rolling down the pit lane? There is still another car further back, but the number 2 gets moving once again, and that is AJ Muss, fresh off his first podium. Fuel only there as well.
Thank you, Shea, as they all leave the pit lane. Jeremy, you would have known Alan very well as well. What a character, Mr. de Cadney.
Absolutely right there. That's shocking. I hadn't heard that news. I've been kind of busy today, so I'd missed it. And yeah, that's a great shame. I didn't know he'd been poorly or whatever. So Godspeed. And just as you say, John, tremendous character, and one of those guys who just had immense enthusiasm for life, for the sport, for basically for everything. And yeah, I shall miss him. That's a great shame. That's really, really sad news. Just in that TCR pit stops, I think the only car that didn't come into the pits perhaps was the number 99. I think all of the other TCR cars came down the pit lane on that took the opportunity there. I mean, it's too early to make a driver change, only 22 minutes or so into the race, so it's way too early to be making your driver change. But if you come in now, you need less fuel to go from the end when they do make their stops, perhaps another 20 minutes or so's time. So it'll shorten up that stop. That's why we're seeing quite a few of these cars coming in at this early juncture.
Yeah, you're quite correct, Jeremy. In the sense, it was the Victor Gonzalez, only the Victor Gonzalez car, the number 99, that didn't come in. And of course, that will all get shuffled around when we do there's going to be no final wave by.
No, because everybody's on the same lap. No one had been lapped, I don't think. So there was no one in between the safety car and the race leader. So everybody running a really good pace. And it's a relatively short lap here. So to go 12, 13 laps like we did in that first stint, nobody falling a lap down, good pace all the way up and down the field. That's impressive.
So will they do the GS split? If not, Victor Gonzalez has got about 8 GS cars between himself and Michael Johnson. So yes, they do the GS class split now. So that will put all the GS cars back in front. I'm not sure Victor will love that too much, because then, of course, again, the TCR leaders, and they'll be much closer this time, starting in single file, they'll be much closer to the back of the GS field. So bad for them, great for us, because we'll have more entertainment, Jeremy.
That's exactly right. They've made a point of this. We've had several opportunities over the last several races where they've been relatively early yellows. Number 99 car consistently has not taken advantage of those. It stayed out on the racetrack. So Victor Gonzalez therefore takes the lead in the TCR. Hasn't yet necessarily worked out in their favour, but could do today. Although that team has already won one race this season. They won at Sebring, and looking to get win number 2 under their belt. And this is it's the only Honda in the field this weekend, isn't it? Because the LA Honda World team is not here this week.
Jeremy Shaw.
Nor is the Hart car, the Honda of America racing team entry.
Jeremy Shaw and John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. So it's the 2 Murillo race cars out front. The blue bonnet, the blue hood, is Kenny Murillo, and that is the 72 car. The black bonnet and side stripes, that is the 56 of Mark Miller, drafted in this weekend. With a shuffling in the team because Ken Cook hasn't been available to them. He's racing in Europe this weekend on a previous commitment. Back to the green flag with 90 minutes exactly of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park 120 remaining for the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and already Kenny Murillo gets a jump on the field, including his teammate Mark Miller, who's got Alan Brynjolfsson right up his tailpipes for Volt Racing. None of the top 8 of the cars in GS took a pit stop there, so they have decided to roll the dice and stay out. From 9th down, which is Frank Depew of Rebel Rock Racing. He's the lead car who made the pit stop, so a great turnaround from Rebel Rock in the Urban Grid car has vaulted Frank up into 9th position ahead of Sheena Monk, Vin Barletta, Damien Faneshi. That was the car that came in out of 3rd and now came out behind 3 other cars that stopped at the same time. So not the best of stops, Jeremy Shaw, for the Toyota Supra, the Gazoo Racing Toyota Supra GT4 of Riley Motorsports.
True, of course. This is the first ever Michelin Pilot Challenge race for Damien Faneshi in that car. So there was no change of driver there, so you can't blame it on that. And that Riley Motorsports team is pretty darn good, generally speaking, at pit stops. Yeah, so surprised to see them losing a bit of ground. The big gainer, by the way, in TCR was Michael Johnson. One of 2 remarkably paralysed drivers in this race, from the chest down following an accident on a motorcycle when he was 14 years of age. And Michael Johnson was running second. I think he might have lost the position to Chris Miller at that restart, but number 54 car running really nicely in this lead pack of TCRs.
Bit of bodywork flying on the Mario Andretti straight on the far side of the circuit. Hello to Jake Galstead, who's trackside, listening to us on 90.7 FM. Wherever you are around the world, thank you for being with us. That's a very long lens you've got there, Jake. I hope you get you some good pictures. Perfect photography conditions here in so many places at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And whether you're a pro or an enthusiastic amateur, very little to get in the way between you and the track. I've taken some good pictures there on cell phones before. Let's head into the battle for second position. And McCann Racing and the number 40, of James Pesek, and PF Racing right in behind the number 65 of Tim Probert. There's 3 Murillo Racing AMGs in the top 5, but Tim Probert having to defend that 5th position from the pink Mustang as they go across the line. Then there's a little bit of a gap back to the hardpoint Porsche, Nick Gallant, then Tom Collingwood for BGB Motorsports. Meantime, in the TCR battle, Chris Miller has been chased down just a little bit after the restart. Did get a little bit of a jump, but there's 4 cars that's away. It's Chris Miller for the number 17 Audi from Unitronic. Then Victor Gonzalez Racing has not yet made the stop, so Chris Miller's got back to the lead, into the pit lane. This is the Hyundai Racing Canada, and that is a drive-through for a pit lane speed violation, 9 kilometres too many, and that'll get you pinged any time of the week, any day of the week, and well, at least once on this Saturday, as Jeremy said.
Yeah.
New for them. And also a pit lane entry penalty and a drive-through for the number 19. That was the Van der Steur racing car that came in late, blocked Gavin Ernstone, who's just been off at the exit of turn 5. Gavin trying to stay out of the way and stay out of trouble, and as he's done so, he's disadvantaged himself then. I think he's dropped a couple of positions behind AJ Muss for Brian Hurt Autosport and the Belgarden Technics Audi as well. People sliding around in front of him. He came round the outside. Now he got that one wrong himself, so he just outbraked himself going up the hill.
Yeah, I think he did, didn't he? The number 11 car there was kind of defending the inside line going up there, and which the car that was trying to be passed by the 61? Was it Travis Hill? Yeah, he was kind of balked there, so that gave Ernst an opportunity to go around the outside, but he got a little bit too greedy there, tried to carry him a little bit too much speed. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. He didn't lose too much, I think, out of that little escapade.
So the Gavin Ernstone machine just in the wrong place at the wrong time and just couldn't get himself stopped as he was going up the hill to turn 5. So, Jeremy, we've had 35 minutes pretty much on the dot, an hour and 25 minutes still to go. One caution, and already a split in the strategy. Oh, big mistake for the number 2 Hyundai, trying to go past, that was Parker Chase, trying to go past, that was the Sean Quinlan, no it wasn't, it was one of the GS cars. Is that the 11 of Gary Ferrari? Yes, it was. And almost bounced himself through the curb and into the barriers at turn number 5. Just took too much curb on the entry there.
Pretty much exactly the same problem, or a similar problem at least.
Turn 4, excuse me, not turn 5.
It was the opposite problem really to on the previous lap. Same car involved, the same Mercedes there for Gary Ferrera, who's having a busy time there in amongst the TCR pack. But yeah, a little bit too much speed on the inside line, a little bit too tight of a line for AJ Muss, the former snowboarder. Hats off again here to Tim Probert, running in 5th position overall, holding off James Pezek, who is up in 6th in the points table in that number 40 car. They had some bad luck last time out at Watkins Glen. They had a problem late in the race. They've had a really good season in that bright pink car. One win already, that came at Sebring early this season. A couple of the top 10s as well, so looking to get another good solid run here, running 6th position at the moment. That's James Pezek in car number 40.
And he's got a little bit of a draft behind the 65 of Tim Probert. It's the 3rd of the 3 Murillo cars. It's the one with the white and black down the side. They've all got slightly different accoutrements to their orange paintwork. The hood and the side stripes are the difference, and Pezek goes down the inside in the final corner, gets up alongside 2 front engine V8s there, and it seemed as though the AMG had the ponies. Pezek just can't push his way through into turn 1 and falls in behind. Tim Probert doing nothing wrong, defends, but then drifts wide into turn 2, down the inside to the bottom of the hill. No, that's not going to work either for Pezek. Cracking battle, no quarter asked or given here, but much respect from these 2 drivers to each other. Pezek's so close, and it would be so easy for him just to let the brake off and roll through and get his elbows out. He's been loath to do that. Very fair racing from both of the drivers here, Jeremy.
Yeah, good to see, isn't it? And as you say, total respect between those 2. The James Pezek is a former football player, so he could get rough if he wanted to, but he doesn't. He has respect for Tim there, which is really cool to see. And my hat's off here to Tim Probert. I mean, goodness gracious, 70 years of age to be driving like that. Brilliant, absolutely love it.
So through to turn 5. This cracking battle at the sharper end of TCR. Chris Miller still leads. From Parker Chase, Robert Wiggins and Victor Gonzalez, but then behind them there's another group of cars, which includes Eric Rockwell and AJ Muss and Roy Black and Gavin Ernstone, and they're all battling for 8th on down and having just as fierce a battle, Jeremy.
Brilliant, isn't it? Just a great racing there with that whole gaggle of cars dicing away, and Mark Siegel's kind of at the head of that train of cars in the car barn Porsche. Was he pulled away a little bit on that lap? Yeah, he's nowhere to be seen.
Mark
is he?
Siegel's
Okay,
just pitted. Just pitted in the Carbon with Peregrine car. And that is after 39 minutes, so that's not drive time yet. Fuel and left side tyres is what I'm hearing there from Shea down in the pit lane. Thank you, Shea.
And look at Robbie Wickens there in 3rd position in car number 33, having started at the back of the pack because he missed qualifying, didn't drive at all yesterday, had never driven a TCR car here before today, so he's doing a magnificent job to get himself up into the 3rd position. So we've got 2 paralysed drivers in the top 6 in TCR, and one 70-year-old in the top 5 in GS. This sport is for everybody.
Yes, absolutely is. It's Jeremy Shaw, and we're watching this cracking battle, and that's a significant move then from AJ Muss, who dispatches Gary Ferreira, and that'll give him an opportunity to move forward as Mark Siegel is out of the pit lane, and they are heading off into the next section of the race. So 40 minutes is now elapsed, Jeremy, so anyone who comes to pit lane now could change their driver.
Yes, so the pit window for that is open, except for those the time spent on pit lane does not count towards your drive time. So we've seen quite a few of the TCR cars have already been in, so they will need to do, they probably need to do one extra lap past the 40 minutes in order to fulfill that minimum drive time of 40 minutes, because, as I say, that drive time does not count when you're in between the pit entrance cone and the pit exit cone.
Yeah, that's a good point that we have to keep making. Understand that not all of you are watching every week, and the time from pit in to pit out does not count to either driver. Even if you stay in, there are some series where if you stay in, that pit lane time gets recredited to you. If you get out, it doesn't. But here, it's any time that the car is in pit lane does not count, whether you stay in the car or whether you get out the car. So you've got to be a little bit cute if you've been in for a pit stop, and quite a number of in fact all of the TCRs, bar the Victor Gonzalez number 99 Honda, have been down the pit lane, so they'll need to give it another lap or so. And the top now 6 are in the GS category have all pitted as well, have all not pitted, excuse me. So the best of the cars that are pitted now, coming back through the field, Damien Faneshi, Riley Motorsports Toyota. He's passed a few cars, Jeremy, since he has come out of the pits, and is up to 7th position, as Ted Giovannis, who has been into the pit lane, has they've done the calculations and has now headed for the pit lane.
Yeah, so he has fulfilled his minimum drive time, and he'll hand that car over to Owen Trinkler, who'll bring it home from here, and it'll be a he'll need some caution to get back into the overall picture, but apart from the incident at turn 3, which no penalty was assessed.
Sorry, Jeremy, slow-moving Murillo racing car. I'm pretty certain that was a slow-moving Murillo racing car. I think it was Tim Probert. I think I saw the flash of light colour down the side of the car. It was I think it was the 65. Yes, it was. So that's Tim Probert, who was running really well, right up in the top 5, and that car is moving very slowly indeed at the end of the Andretti straight. just saw that from the on board of the number 33 as it flashed by Robert Wiggins' car. Staying to the right-hand side, Shea Adam is watching that car coming along pit road now.
It managed to hit its marks, and they have sticker Michelin tires doing a driver change, so Brent Mosen getting in. The hood has gone up. There is no white smoke, no weird smells coming out of the car, but it looks to be a pretty standard stop as of now. The hood is still up, and there's only one mechanic looking around in there. The tire change goes on. The fueling is still going on, so no time lost as of yet, but the hood goes back down. Yeah, I think they're going to send Brent as soon as the stop is done.
Well, very interesting. Lost a huge amount of real estate as the leaders now picking their way through the back of the field. And Kenny Murillo, the first to hit them, of course. And they are heading through some of the slower GS traffic. And it's advantage to the leader as they go past the Porsche, the red and white Porsche. Yeah, that's really held up the second place driver. So Michael McCann is, no, my apologies, that's Michael McCann who is in second place in the number 8. He's split the two Murillo cars. My apologies to Michael. That's what you get when you look away from the timing screen for a moment. So that is a battle for position. The leader has gone through with the blue hood on the orange car, and then the black hood on the orange car is the 56 of Mark Miller. Between them, the red, white and black Porsche of McCann Racing. None of those top 5 cars still, though, have been down the pit lane. Still waiting for the 65 Murillo car to rejoin. And just as it was about to go, it sounded like the engine stopped. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to get in touch with us. Coming down to another milestone, Jeremy, 45 minutes have elapsed. Cracking battles right through the field.
Yeah, lots of fun, isn't it? I mean, we've got 4 cars still, well, 4 cars separated by just a couple of seconds at the front of the field. In TCR, we've got the top 7 cars nose to tail, pretty much. So, yeah, tremendous racing. There's Frank Depew having a lunge down the inside. Whoa, he just about avoids hitting the back of Sheena Monk's Mustang there and able to stay on ahead of Vin Barletta and the Sean Quinlan, Stephen Cameron Racing BMW as well. That also is a big battle for what is now 7th position, actually, with Nick Galanti at the head of that trade. Tom Collingwood is in there, Sheena Monk, Frank Depew, Vin Barletta, Sean Quinlan, and super battle for 7th.
Well, if you're trackside here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, listening to us on 90.7 FM, a reminder, we've got the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship for you tomorrow. If you're further afield, if you've got friends in North America, NBC on a hugely busy afternoon of sport for the NBC, our NBC TV colleagues. We've got IndyCar as our warm-up act tomorrow. Not often that happens. Fantastic lead in to us from Mid-Ohio. Won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen the qualifying from there earlier on this afternoon.
Thank you.
And I'm pleased I didn't there, Jeremy. And to open things up in the morning, just a little helping, 9 o'clock here, Eastern time. A little helping of Idemitsu Mazda MX-5. Excuse me, that's 9 o'clock Central time from Road America. Let's get down to the pits where Shea Adam has found Tim Probert.
Tim, let's not let the end of that stint mar the greatness of qualifying and the start of it. What was it like running up at the front of the field, legitimately for position?
You know, it's an unusual place for me to be, Shay, so I really enjoyed it a lot. It was great. I worked really hard and kept the car in a pretty good spot. Unfortunately, we towards the end of the stint there, we had a bit of a misfire problem, which I think the crew have been able to solve, but it basically caused me to come in pretty slow around most of the lap.
Well, you put on a good show, and clearly this is the start of good things to come for the future, so we expect you to be in the front.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, we had 3 of those Murillo Racing cars in the top 5 at one spot. That has cost them a couple of laps, Jeremy, to the lead, but it is running again. I know Brett Mosing has just come back into the pit lane, so perhaps a further issue. Misfires are horrible things. Meantime, at the front of TCR, Chris Miller's got his hands full and his mirrors full of a couple of HUD days and the Victor Gonzalez Racing Civic and that's Travis Hill, isn't it, in the 2TH, the Tooth Autosport car as well. So 5 cars now battling for the lead in TCR, coming to the final corner. And down the inside, trying for the lead, that was Parker Chase in the number 98. All he's done there is slowed himself up and given the next car back an opportunity, which is Robert Wiggins, and Robert needs no second invitation, but he's under pressure as well as Vin Barletta comes to pit lane. And the Turner Motorsport, the remaining Turner Motorsport number 96, Shea Adam will keep an eye on that as we watch the battles at the front of TCR. What a super race this is, and it's a real problem, Jeremy, isn't it? If you're in the middle of that train, which is slowing itself down now, and more cars are joining on the back, but if you are second or third or fourth or fifth, you're trying to attack and defend at the same time.
Fabulous, isn't it? I mean, these guys they're having a ball out there, I tell you. So much fun. This train across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars, I think it is, in that lead train. They pulled out, and the tail of that train is the pole sitter, Tyler Maxson, in car number 77. They pulled out a bit over the rest of them, but gosh, this is a tremendous battle going on there. Meanwhile, Kenny Murillo is just edging away a little bit at the front all of a sudden in car number 72. I think he was running a nice, consistent, conservative pace through the early stages, trying to look after his tyres a little bit, and he's now just stretched it out. All of a sudden, he's a couple of 3 seconds clear of the number 56 car. All of a sudden, where's Michael McCann?
He's just gone off at the top of turn 3, Jeremy, onto the grass and dropped a couple of places, and he's dropped back down to 4th position. Mark Miller slipped through and Alan Brynjolfsson slipped through. Did that thing that we've seen before, and indeed caused the damage on the number 14 Lexus in the WeatherTech Championship. Ben Barnican just got 2 wheels on the grass, 2 wheels became 4 wheels on the grass. However, he managed to avoid hitting the tyre barrier in that red, white and black Porsche for McCann Racing, the 718 GT4 RS, and he has resumed in 4th position, albeit I reckon he's dropped a good 2, 3, maybe 4 seconds from where he was. He was in 2nd, he's now in 4th, and some nearly 10 seconds away from Kenny Murillo, who still leads.
Yeah, so a costly mistake there for Michael McCann.
Who pits?
As he comes, so he'll be handing over this car to Andrew Davis for the 2nd stint in this race. Again, they've had a good season. They've had run up front more often than not this season. They've had a whole bunch of bad luck. They're on pole position for the opening race of the season at Daytona. They've had a 3rd place finish as well. That was at Mid-Ohio, and into the pits now out of 4th position. Whoops. Yep. Oh, that's Michael.
He went off at the top of the hill. Shea Adam is watching the pit stops. This will be a driver change. Oh, they lost control of one of their wheels there, Shea. That could well be a penalty.
Could be if it went outside of the box fully, but it was a fuel and driver change call for this car, and then tires was a bit of an afterthought. So yes, they did have a bit of a trepidation there with doing the tire change, but no problems as far as anything else is concerned. For the Turner number 96, it is Robbie Foley, who is now out just ahead of the leaders, trying to stay on the lead lap. They did fuel tires, and Foley in Barletta out when the 96 did come down the pit lane. And also into the pit lane is the number 5. That is the Mighty Alpha. This should be fuel tires, and Roy Block getting out, Tim Lewis getting in. And I have some sad news to report. The 65 Murillo Racing Mercedes has gone behind the wall on Tim Probert's birthday, but he was happy as could be for what he accomplished yesterday and then early on in the race.
They've been assessed a penalty already for more than a permitted people working on the car in the pit lane, but looks a bit more serious than that. The immaculately prepared Alpha is ready to go as the McCann Racing number 8 pulls out from behind it and heads toward pit exit and turn 1. Andrew Davis, as Shea reported, installed behind the wheel. So he dropped down to 6th position. And we've still got James Pesek, who hasn't stopped. So the top three, and then PF Racing's Mustang, the number 40, and then behind them Thomas Collingwood for BGB, and the Hardpoint car as well, actually. So the 6 cars in the top 10 who've not yet made their first pit stop, and Victor Gonzalez has not yet stopped either in TCR, holding down a solid 5th position in that FK7 VG RT Honda Civic. That's the number 99 car. He's right there with the leading group, Jeremy. And
this is a really interesting race at this stage. We've had problems with a few people. We've got some pit stops making shuffling up the order now as well. But this battle in TCR is just absolutely immense. And the number 5 car, the Alpha, has rejoined, as I think you just said, just directly ahead of the leaders in TCR. It's still Chris Miller that leads, but Travis Hill, he's made a couple of moves in the last couple of laps, get himself up into 2nd place in that kind of 26 for Tooth Autosport. And right in that battle is Parker Chase, Robert Wickens, Victor Gonzalez, Michael Johnson, and Tyler Maxson.
So the Unitronic Audi just dropping down to 2nd place as through goes Travis Hill into the lead. The Alpha is right ahead of them, trying to stay on the lead lap. Here comes the Hyundai into the final corner as well. The Hyundai being the number 98 of Parker Chase. And Chris Miller, who started this lap in the lead, will start the next lap in 3rd position, and I think he's going down into 4th at turn 1 as here comes Robert Wickens down the inside. New father, Robert Wickens. What a week he's had. Won last weekend. Lots of PR and press work up here north of the border, and then dashed back home for the birth of his first son, first child. Well done to him and Carly. And now he's back here battling for the lead. Robbie Foley, the last 2 laps around, has reset the fastest lap time in GS as the 96 Turner Motorsport car tries to improve its position. Gavin Ernstone is out of the number 61 Roadshagger Racing Audi. They were battling towards the bottom end of the top 10, and Shea Adam is there.
New tires on this Audi because the back ones are just there to hold the exhaust off the ground, waiting on fuel. Driver change still going on as the fuel nozzle has come out, so they are losing time with the driver change at this point. It is still, there we go. Gavin closes the door. John leaves. Gavin flips his hands as if to say, oh, I hate when the driver change is the last part, but now it's on to John to go and try and continue this summer of podiums, or at least that's what Roadshagger is calling it.
Still, this TCR battle is going on. Is Chris Miller coming into the pit lane? Yes, he is. He's lost a little bit of time. Oh, and the Alpha's back in again as well. Tim Lewis brings the KMW Motorsports Alpha back in. That cannot be correct as they come down. And here's Chris Miller. They were losing a bit of pace. Let's go back to Shea Adam down in the pit lane.
Alpha just did a drive-through, John. I can't see all the way down at the other end of the pit, so you'll have to let me know if he turns and makes a hard right back behind the wall. We've also got the number 1 Hyundai in. That was the championship winners from last year. Michael Lewis is getting in, Taylor Hagler getting out, front tire change. And front tire change going on for the number 17. That was the Unitronic Audi that led. It is Mikey Taylor taking over there. And it was running over pit equipment, a hose for the Alpha. That's what resulted in the drive-through penalty. We've also got the Bellegarde Audi, and that's the number 15 driver change going on. Denny DuPont taking over. And who else did I just see up on the wall? Oh yes, the number 56 crew, Marilla Racing. They will be bringing in Mark Miller here in a few seconds as into the pits comes McCann Racing. They were just in, weren't they? That's a drive-through penalty as well.
Yeah, and that was for working outside the pits. That was that loose time that disappeared down the pit lane that had to be chased after by the team member. Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, well, so into the thick of changes now, driver changes going on there with the minimum drive time left. We've just got just over an hour remaining in this race. At a stretch, perhaps the GS cars can make it from here. At least that's what those teams are hoping at this stage. If there is another full course caution in the second half of this race, that would certainly play into their favour. If not, it's going to be touch and go for them. The TCRs should be able to get to the end, I think, from around about here. They can do an hour, generally speaking, on the tank of fuel. So Travis Hill it is who leads that battle. Brilliant drive by him in that number 26 car, that brand new Audi. Didn't show much pace last weekend because they had all sorts of niggly problems, as had the Hyundai of Canada car this weekend. That car, by the way, is still running in 10th position for Connor Attrell. But Travis Hill leads that class in the TCR, although does he? Because Chris Miller is coming back at him there. That's Mikey Taylor, isn't it? He's just made a pit stop, that's right. So, yeah, those two cars back together again on the racetrack. Was that a replay?
There's a replay, I think, Jeremy. No, that's all right. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, we're coming down to the hour mark. Victor Gonzalez, expect them to peel in a moment or two's time. And the issue there is, when they come in, that might set off a chain of events for the other cars as well. They won't need as much fuel, Jeremy. So, and in fact, as I say that, the Gonzalez car comes into the pit lane. Shea Adam.
This car will be taking more fuel than any other TCR car on their stops because it is the only car that has yet to stop so far in today's race. So that means that Carl Whitmer, resident Canadian who was walking around with Maple Leaf flag draped over his shoulders, gets a little bit of extra time to do this driver change as Victor Gonzalez gets out. They are doing front tires and fuel, and Victor is out. Carl is in. Very smooth stop so far, just waiting on fuel.
Now, the point I was making there, Jeremy, is that's great, and the Victor Gonzalez racing team, they've gone to an hour, spot on, they've split it in half. They now can go to the end of the race with which none of the other TCRs can do. So we might start to see some stops, but even if we do, I would presume it would take a little bit less time in the pit lane because they won't need quite as much fuel as the number 99 car.
Well, that's right. All of the cars in TCR, they've already made a stop, didn't they, under that first caution period, 14, 15 laps into the race. So they can certainly go longer now. But from here, if you make your stop now, you can I think, get to the end. So if there is a full course caution at this stage, it would play out to the favour of that number 99 car if the other TCR cars don't come into the pits fairly soon now, because we're after... Because if there is a full course caution, the pit lane gets closed until everybody stacks up behind the leader. Number 71 car pits out of 9th position as well.
Shea Adam with more pit stops, this time GS at the front of the field.
Fuel and tires for Rebel Rock, as well as a driver change, and one pit box further back, well, a couple of pit boxes further back, it was Chad McCumbee taking over for PF Racing. That's James Pesic out. We have Volt Racing in the pit lane. Finally, Alan Brynjolfsson getting out of the Aston Martin, handing over to Trent Hinman. Fuel and tires there as well. And also up on the wall, I just noticed we've got Tyler McQuarrie for the 93 Carbon Motorsport. It is still the 56 crew for Murillo Racing up on the wall, ready to receive a Mercedes, whereas the 72 crew, the leader, they have showed no signs whatsoever of bringing in Kenny, although you would think that they would put the leader first. So maybe the 56 guys are just a bit more eager to strut their stuff.
Tyres just going on to the Volt number 7. And into the pit lane comes Robert Wiggins now as well. Remember, we'll be looking for our Michelin moment of the race for TCR and for GS. 58 minutes to go, so easily able to go this far. And Robert pulls up, and the outstanding teamwork that goes on here, Jeremy, for this pit stop.
Yeah, that's right. Robbie gets out, Mark Wilkins gets in. Both, by the way, relatively new fathers. Mark not for the first time, but Robbie very recently, i.e. yesterday. And that was a really great first stint there, of course, from Robert Wickens. Exactly what we would expect, particularly on the high of not only the birth of his first child, but also that race victory 1 week ago.
Yeah, and I really hope nobody's asked him which one he enjoyed the most. That's not a question you can ever ask a new race winner or a new father. You just cannot ask that at all. Sheena Monk into the pit lane, as well as Robert Wingett's car goes out now in the hands of Mark Wilkins, just fastening his belts down as he goes back out onto the race track. Now, just a moment or two ago, coming together from the two Hyundais, the 98 and the 77, 98 Parker Chase and 77 Tyler Maxson. Tyler's just come into the pit lane. Bit of hip and shoulder going on there. In fact, they're both on pit lane at the same time, shit, Adam.
Oh, this is going to get spicy. Well, the 77 came in first. That is Tyler out, and it will be Mason getting in. Right behind them is their sister car, the number 2. That's AJ Musk getting out, and Ryan Norman getting in. But as he came in, Tyler actually hit the pit board for the sister car, nearly knocking the man holding the pit board off of the wall. We have another Hyundai into the pit lane as well. That is Michael Johnson in the 54 Michael Johnson Racing Hyundai. And a bit of fun up there as Phil, who is normally the team manager for the entire Brian Hurd Autosport Hyundai program, is calling strategy on that box for today. That sound that you heard was the roar of the 77 getting back into life, and now we wait to see which fueling is going to be done first, the 2 or the 54. Answer is the 2.
And out it goes, still showing the number 3 on the side window. That'll change next time by. Still waiting for the leaders. It's the two Murillo racing cars, separated by just 3/4 of a second now. Kenny Murillo and Mark Miller. KM and MM in the Murillo racing cars. Nick Gallant and Thomas Collingwood coming in from 4th and 5th. In fact, there's a whole slew of cars coming in, including the 2nd place TCR. It's going to leave the Audi of Tooth Motorsport in the lead. Denny DuPont's just put the fastest lap in of the race for Bellegarde Techniseal in the TCR, down in 12th position. And here into the pit lane is the number 56. This is the 2nd place car. Mark Miller is the first of the 2 leading Murillo cars. Still on the black hood, and it's going to be a full stop for these guys. Mark Miller taking his time to get out, making sure he doesn't get the seat belts done. The wheel guns go to work. 5-stud rims here, of course. So you'll hear the wheel guns in the old-fashioned NASCAR way, not as the NASCAR have now, the new generation with the single lug nut in the middle. I do like to hear those 5 lug nuts getting spun off and spun back on again. There's something very evocative about it. New driver is in, waiting on the fuel. That's exactly what should happen. The determining factor of the pit stop time should always be the fuel. Waiting for the orange number 56 to be sent. It's already down on its new Michelin tyres. There was a couple of seconds there, just a slight hesitation, and the crew go to work picking up the wheel nuts that have come out off that wheel, and they are back in the race. I'd expect, Jeremy, to see the number 72 car come in next time around. Just one lap between those 2 cars.
Yeah, I would concur with that, absolutely right. We saw the 4th and 5th place cars, number 22 and number 83, also into the pit lane. There's a very scary excursion for Stephen Simpson, I think, that will be having taken over from Michael Lewis, so that'll cost them some time. They've been super consistent in recent races. Here's the race leader.
On the pit lane, let's take a quick look at this stop, and then we'll speak to Mark Miller, who did the opening stint for the sister car. All looks to be going very nicely. I'll watch that while Shay talks to Mark.
Yeah, we're actually standing here watching the pit stop, and for Mark Miller, that was a longer than expected stint, but that was what you needed to get to a point where Foss can bring it home. What kind of Mercedes does he have underneath him?
Oh, it's this Murillo car, Mosing Motor Cars. I drove myself happy out there, that's for sure. That was fun. It was a lot of fun. This is a great group of guys. This is my first time running with Murillo, first time in the AMG GT4, first time in the series for 4 years, and man, did I miss it, and that was a lot of fun. Kenny and I were just staying out of trouble out there and trying to save fuel the best we can. we could, and the caution really helped. It was a nice long caution, and I think a lot of that fuel saving happened on the caution. A lot of coasting, a lot of clutch in type of stuff. So we were pretty happy with the performance of the car. The car's got a lot more in it. Like, it's really good. It's really good. And the day one, yesterday at the beginning of the day, I was not that confident, but the car was really happy to drive. It was fun to be back.
Hey, fingers crossed for you the rest of the way.
Yeah, Eric, I can't say enough about Eric Foss. I mean, the guy can wheel. I've known him forever, and we haven't driven together in the same car for, gosh, so long. I think it was like before the teens of 2000, so it was a long time ago. So this is really a great experience.
Thanks, Mark Miller.
Christian Simchak has taken over the 72 car. He's on his outlap. That's another one of the Murillo racing machines. And he has just been overtaken by the team car as they were heading from turn 4 towards turn 5. Now they're on the long Andretti straight. So we'll see that position change next time around. Travis Hill for 2TH Motorsport, Tooth Motorsport in 3rd position in the leading TCR, yet to make his final stop though. Riley Motorsports in the Toyota Supra after that early stop is leading. Damien Faneshi at the head of the field, but still to make their last stop in that number 41. Let's have a word with Kenny Murillo as they've all been stopping at the same time. Great opening stint. 3 cars in the top 5 at one stage here.
Yeah, and for Kenny Murillo, the name on the door too, it has to make you happy. The 3 cars in the top 5 for the start of this race, but then having clean track ahead of you, how nice was that stint?
Yeah, I mean, we work really hard for that kind of stuff. Tim Forever put him in epic qualifying P5 and just ran up there with everybody. So just a really great team effort. The car was just on rails with these Michelin tires, and man, I couldn't ask for a better situation. And when the team works so hard, it's a good feeling to give them the result they deserve.
Are you feeling the momentum 2 weeks in a row with really good, strong cars?
Yeah, the first couple races have been really tough luck. Either we get taken out or something happens in qualifying. So to see the momentum go the other way, it's really inspiring. Everybody's really motivated more than ever, and just try to keep the ball going down the hill.
Fingers crossed for you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
GT4 pit stop for the other Gazoo Racing machine. That car in the pits.
Yeah, and 2 new drivers aboard that car this weekend. Generally, it's Alfredo Nadri who does all the races, but not so this weekend. It's Diego Azar from Delvisa, another Argentinian, 27 years of age is Diego. He's hopping aboard that car from Damien Faneshi. And Azar, he's finished, he races in a top race V6 series in Argentina, drives a Lexus there, part of the Toyota brand, of course. That's why he is eligible for this Toyota Gazoo Racing Latin America entry, and we're going to see what he can do in the latter stages of this race. Meanwhile, after Travis Hill, I think is still out there. He'll probably lead next time around, which is pretty cool overall. But then next up is Robbie Foley, having made his pit stop quite a while ago. I think he's probably going to be struggling to get to the finish from here. He's going to need quite a bit of caution.
Hey, just stopped. Now he's in the pit right now. Yeah. But even that, 48 minutes, Jeremy, as he comes out the pits right now. 48 minutes is a lot to ask, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's no problem at all. No problem.
Okay. Right. Well, they're known for rolling the Dennis. Now here we are looking at the drive times, 40 minutes. Remember, in this race, Travis Hill for 2TH Motorsport. Question, Jeremy, if you could have a look to see when that car stopped, because
he's been in it from the start.
Right. So
yeah. So he's gonna have to hand that car over, the number 26 car, to Eddie Killeen from Buffalo, New York, within the next 8 minutes.
Yeah. And Eddie's got to get out before 40 minutes. There's only 40 minutes. Get out of the pit lane before there's only 40 minutes elapsed. He is leading the motor race at the moment.
Very cool.
For the TCRs. He's just let the now new leader go through, the Murillo Racing number 56. That's the one with the black bonnet and roof. But that car was scored as leading last time around for that new team to the Michelin Pilot Challenge. This is really good. Very much in their early days here. And they've got a 1 minute lead on Mason Filippi, who is in second position in TCR. So they're stretching this absolutely as long as they can go. But I would suggest he's got to come in this lap or the next time around just to give themselves a little bit of leeway. They do not want to push it all the way down to close to 40, because it's when his teammate Eric Killeen comes out of the pits and clips the pit out timing line that his drive time starts, and that's got to be at or around 40 minutes to go.
That's right, and this is a battle for position on the racetrack there with the Aston Martin going through. He's running in the now up into the third position overall. So the two Murillo Racing Mercedes, number 56 and 72, just passed Travis Hill on that last lap. So Travis is no longer leading a motor race overall, and it's time now. He's got another lap at the most. Well, he could probably do 2 laps before he needs to get into the pit lane to hand over that car to Eddie Killeen. That'll be Eddie standing by there from Buffalo. Actually, that's, well, I think that's probably Nick Loymans actually in the other car, but he works for Shopify, excuse me. Yeah, Eddie, you know, he's been around this sport quite a long time, around life for quite a long time. Not done an awful lot of racing over the years, but he has raced in Canada over the last decade or so in a bunch of different cars, including the GT3 Cup series, Porsche series, for several years.
Into the pit lane then. I think this is really smart. 5 minutes before Eddie Killeen's got to get out of the pit lane. So just in case there's any little mistakes, down on the pit lane, proudly with the maple leaf on the top of that car, as Tooth Motorsport comes in, and Shea Adam will watch this pit stop for us.
Standing right behind the 26, and they've got the fuel nozzle ready to go. Driver change should be happening. The door opens. Let's see if we have... Well, we have a driver getting out. That is Travis. We do not have a new driver getting it. Oh, there we go. Eddie jumps over the wall and comes around from the front of the car. Shopify on the back of his fire suit. So yep, that helped the identification very well. Thank you, Jeremy. They're changing front tires only on this Audi. The fuel nozzle still attached. The air jack goes in through the fuel cap. And we've got a little bit of confusion on the team. The fuel nozzle has come out. They want to tape up the front of the car, but it seems that wasn't communicated before they got things going. Driver change still taking a bit of time. Yeah, they're going to tape the rear wing. It seems as if they have a piece of tape on there already that has been previously holding the struts together, spinning the rear tires, making sure that everything is clean. But this has taken the car thoroughly out of contention, unfortunately. But hey, they led. They led.
Yeah, and you know, they're not used to doing long distance races. I mean, the FEL series in Canada is a sprint series, so they don't do pit stops, driver changes, all that sort of stuff as a regular basis. That's why they had an outing last weekend at Watkins Glen to kind of get used to some of this stuff. But still, it's all new to them, at least at this level. They've done lots of long distance races in the past because this team and the drivers will cut their teeth in the Champ Car Endurance Series, as is well known around North America for kind of entry-level long-distance races. Tremendous opportunities there are in that series to get lots and lots and lots of seat time, which I've been fortunate enough to take advantage of myself over the last few years. But this Tooth Motorsport team, they've had a fabulous showing here today, no doubt about it. Is he going to come out still ahead of the leaders?
He had 54 seconds, so let's see. Next car by will be Mason Filippi. So where is Filippi? They've gone through. He's dropped down to 5th at the moment. 77, the 33 of Mark Wilkins. Gottsack has gone through in the 98. Now down to 6th, now down to 7th. Now down to 8, but Travis Hill, well, it's not Travis Hill at the wheel, of course, now. I don't think they've changed their driver key on that. But that car is showing out of the pit lane. This is the number 26 we're talking about. It's on the back straight behind Team Lewis in the KMW Motorsports car. So that will have dropped them, I reckon, down to 13th position in class. But still on the lead lap in class, although not on the lead lap overall, of course. That was their second pit stop, of course, because they did take advantage of the early stop, which pushed them into the race, deeper into the race. So again, they're learning their trade, as Jeremy said. I think that's a fair point. So TCR led by the number 77 Hyundai, second the 33 Hyundai, third the 98 Hyundai, and fourth the number 1 Hyundai. All Brian Herter Autosport cars. The first non-BHA Hyundai is in 5th position for Mikey Taylor now behind the wheel of the number 17. That's the yellow, white and black Unitronic Audi. And then he's got, guess what, a Brian Herter Autosport Hyundai behind him. That's the number 2 car.
That's right. And Mikey Taylor has set the fastest lap of the race in TCR. So running into 5th position. He's not that far out of the lead. I think he's only about 4 seconds behind the leader. So we can see if he can track down those cars ahead of him. 3 Hyundais ahead of him. 4 Hyundais ahead of him.
Yeah, been a brilliant job, hasn't it, by Brian Herter Autosport and Hyundai in the last few years. They've really pushed that manufacture to the forefront. Front of the field then, Eric Foss now just ahead of the blue hood and roof of Christian Simchak. It's about 0.4 of a second between them. Trent Hinman trying to close them down. He's about 3 seconds back, Trent, at the moment. Last time around, didn't take anything out of the 2 Murillo Mercedes AMG GT4s. But he's there on the start of the Mario Andretti straight as the 2 leaders are heading down towards turn 6. Looks like Simchak might have a little more pace than Eric Foss at the moment, Jeremy.
Yeah, possibly. It's going to be interesting to see whether he challenges him, of course, because in the championship stakes, Eric Foss is second in points coming into this weekend, 1,040 behind the number 7 car of Alan Brynjolfsson and Trent Hinman, which currently runs in 3rd position. The Kenny Murillo and Christian Simchak having had their first podium last weekend at Watkins Glen. They're 4th in the points table. They're about 240 behind Eric Foss. So I don't know whether there's going to be team orders here. I doubt it. But Christian is he's a real gentleman. The old school is Christian. Just a great guy and a heck of a racer as well. He had a tremendous time last weekend. I think he led the race for a while. I got kind of bundled back a bit at one stage, but was getting his shoulders and his elbows out as well and giving a good old battle. So yeah, he'll certainly push Eric Foss here, but I think he'll probably be quite happy to have a 2nd place finish.
Yeah, they're running in team formation at the moment, 56 from 72. So keep an eye on that gap, 3.1 seconds between Simchak and Trent Hinman last time around.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Yeah.
It's stayed about the same now for quite a long time, for the last, since the pit stops.
The other gap we're going to have to watch is the gap between Trent Hinman and Aaron Telitz, because Telitz has just put the Toyota Supra Gazoo racing car into the 123 sixes. Yeah, that's who's listed next to it.
I didn't even know Telitz was driving, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a late change to the entry list. I wasn't aware of that one. My apologies.
Well, that's who's listed on the timing screen.
Yes,
Jeremy.
it is. Yeah, and it was on the timing from yesterday. I just hadn't spotted it because I just saw Damien Faneshi's name and I didn't spot the other driver. Diego Azar was supposed to be driving that car, but so Aaron from Wisconsin is also from Latin America. I didn't know that, and but he'll drive anything, Aaron. It's his first time north of the border. Great opportunity to get some more track time, of course, for him going into tomorrow's WeatherTech race as well. So pulling double duty here is Aaron. Good for him.
just to confirm, Eddie Killeen came out well, he's now up to 12th, actually, as both Tim Lewis and himself, Tim Lewis in the KMW Alpha, and himself in that 2TH Tooth Motorsport number 26 car, both have passed Bob Attrell. Actually, no, he was already a lap further back. So who have we lost there? Tyler Gonzalez, maybe, has dropped back in the Van der Steur Racing. No, he's way back.
Yeah, it's the car that had problems early on, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, he's in 12th position for Eddie Killeen, and I think he's now dropped off the lead lap in TCR, Jeremy.
Yeah, and Eddie certainly, you know, he's I had a chat with him last weekend. You know, he's out there having fun. He's not doesn't consider himself a top line driver. He's honoured to be racing at this sort of level in these sort of cars, absolutely loving it. But you know, he's not out there to. Winning the race is not really on his radar screen, let me put it that way. He's out there having fun. The team has done a super job this weekend so far with this brand new Audi. It's a cool looking car.
It is.
And it was a really good showing for that team. And yeah, they're welcome to this. It's always nice to have new people in this series, particularly when they can run as well as Travis Hill did in that first stint as well.
Yeah, and Jeremy makes the point there, and perhaps we haven't made it forcefully enough. This is the new version, the Evo version of the Audi RS3 TCR. So it is distinctively different, both in its bodywork and some of its underpinnings, although the engine and a lot of the other bits and pieces are the same, pickup points for the suspension, etc. But the bodywork in particular has been refined. It's got the reverse swan neck rear wing mount, so the rear wing mount goes out behind the wing, and then you have the two swan necks reaching forward to attach the rear wing. That really cleans up the airflow onto the rear aerofoil of the rear screen. And remember, it is the only TCR car that is a sedan rather than a hatchback or a coupe style car, and Audi have stuck with that because they believe that that is an aerodynamic advantage. The wheel arch design is different, distinctively so, and there's a lot more aero going on through the wheel arches and around the wheel arches as well. And also they've toughened up both the front and rear wheel arches. You remember how many times we've seen side-to-side contact with the TCRs, and it's left a bit of bodywork sort of flapping, as I describe it, like an angry penguin. Well, they've addressed that, and that should be less of an issue now. Some of the stuff you can't see, much cleverer in terms of what's going on under the skin, in terms of serviceability and tunability. Where the rear anti-roll bar is mounted, for example, it's now a straight through design, doesn't have to go around the rear suspension. That's all been cleaned up, and it's much easier to clean. You can actually pull it out just by taking off one taking off the rear wheels and taking off the clips, pull it out, change it for another one, or tweak it up a little bit. So all these little things, little refinements that Audi Sport Customer Racing have adapted that car. And in fairness, the Cupra, which we don't see here in the US because they don't sell cars over here, but the Cupra is based on the same platform, and that new Evo is out as well, and that has similar refinements on that car. Always learning, always moving forward. And Cupra Sport, who build all of the, and have built all of the VAG TCR cars, are a very slick operation, and they've incorporated everything they've found out from the first generation of Golf, Seat and Cupra and the Audis into the new cars. And as we're talking about Audi pit stops, one of the older cars with the older bodywork is in at the pit lane. That's John Morley, making what I presume then will be his last pit stop with 33 minutes to go. It's going to drop him out of contention. Front tyres only going on that car. And at the front of the field, Jeremy, as we come down into the last 33 minutes, Eric Voss and Christian Simchak are controlling this race rather nicely. Trent Hinman is the same 3.3 seconds off the back of Christian Simchak as he was when we talked about it last time. Aaron Tielitz has closed in a tiny bit, just on 8 seconds to Trent Hindman, but not much more than a second or so there. And everybody at the front doing very similar lap times, early to mid 124s in the GS battle.
Exactly right. The fastest lap of the race has been set by Robin Liddell. He did that about a dozen laps ago in the Chevy Camaro. 1:23.262 for Robin, that car number 71, currently running in the 6th position. He certainly is making a bit of ground toward the number 40. Robin Liddell passed Gregory Learfouge in the Stephen Cameron racing BMW, 4 laps ago. And he has pulled away from Gregory and closing in a little bit on the next car ahead of him, which will be the PF Racing Mustang of Chad McCumbee. Oops.
Problem for the number 88 Hyundai, with damage to the front splitter that was scraping on the ground. It just missed the entrance to the pit lane, I think, when the driver spotted that and has pulled to a halt between turns 1 and 2. That's Bob Attrell for Hyundai Racing Canada, again new to the series. The front right hand side of the splitter was banging on the floor and rattling along as he came across the start finish line. You clearly hear it. Now, didn't want to stop it on the front straight, so did he hit something or did he get hit, or has he picked up some damage from other debris on the circuit? Bit of a bump and run from Robbie Foley in the 96, by the way, a moment or two ago on the Porsche of Andrew Davis, but that was a different incident.
Yeah, not sure what happened on that last lap also to Christian Shimjak, because he all of a sudden he lost a bit of ground.
Sorry, Jeremy, it's the whole of the under tray at the front. It's not just the right front. That's what I spotted as he went across the start-finish line, but it's actually the whole of the under tray, and Bob has pulled the car off. Obviously, that would have sounded awful inside the car. He probably didn't realise what it was. Might have thought it was something engine-related because it was coming literally from right in front of him. I think he might have been able to limp that back round, but again, new team, new driver to the series. He's pulled it off out of the way as much as he can. Not sure they can leave that there. I think we might see, with half an hour to go, the full course yellow. And I've got to say, if anybody needed a pit stop, I would have thought they'd have dived in, and the caution is out on the start-finish line.
I don't think anybody needs to stop, particularly with this full course caution, John. It's been quite a while since we went back to green. We went back to green, however, after the only caution period, a half an hour into the race. So it's been, an hour, just about an hour of green flag running here. There were a few cars that have certainly helped number 90. No, number 96 car's already made another stop, hasn't it? So I think everybody's good to go for fuel.
What's interesting, Jeremy, is this has been called as a short yellow because I think they're waiting to get inside the last 30 minutes of the race before they called it. That's really smart from race control. Really smart from race control. 15 minutes between them, or 30 minutes to the end of the race. At the discretion of race control, they can call a short yellow, which means the pits will not open here. So they did give everybody at least a lap or two if they wanted to stop. They haven't. The caution has been called. That looks like a fairly simple recovery, maybe even just a flat toe for that Hyundai Canada car. Really, really good officiating once again from race control, Jeremy.
Absolutely right. Yes, it is indeed. And the guy who's absolutely rejoicing right now, I would suggest, would be Robin Liddell, because he has got the fastest car on the racetrack, and all of a sudden the gap that he was about 3, 4, 10, 25, 30 seconds behind the leader. That's going to be down to just 4 or 5 cars. So this is going to be really interesting here for Robin Liddell. Bad news, of course, for the two Murillo Racing entries at the front. Trent Hindman certainly helps him. He's in that championship lead at the moment. Aaron Tielitz running in 4th position then for Riley Motorsports in the Toyota Gazoo Latin America car. He brings him back in the frame. Chad McCumbee, he was running next in the 5th position. Then it was Robin Liddell. And Robin Liddell, over the course of the last 5 laps since he had passed Gregory Leofouge in number 43 BMW, Robin Liddell had reduced the deficit to the number 40 pink Mustang ahead of him from 5.5 seconds to about 3 over the course. So he's probably half a second a lap quicker than that number 40 car ahead of him.
Look at that top 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 GS cars, Jeremy Shaw. Look at the names there, look at the teams there, look at the performance potential there. They're all going to be line astern behind the Corvette C8 safety car. I'm not writing any of those guys off from a podium, and possibly even better. There are some sharp drivers in there with some good cars under them.
Indeed so, and we're also now in TCR. Goodness gracious, that up until where it was running, this number 77 car is leading in a TCR. So the top 4 cars had been lapped by the overall GS leader, Eric Foss. Everybody else, however, behind him, led by the number 17, then number 33, 98, 117, 2, 99, 54, 15, 5, you get my drift, and 61, are all still on the lead lap. So they are all going to be able now to go past the safety car and run around to the back of the pack. They hadn't been lapped by their class leader, so they are going to be back in contention in TCR. And that is going to be a real bun fight. For the closing 20 minutes or so of this race in TCR. We've got probably 5 or 6 cars that have got a legitimate chance to win the race overall. We've got I reckon 11 cars that can conceivably lead and win in TCR.
All right, then hold on your hats.
Back. Yes, exactly right.
The pass around is happening. That's what Jeremy was talking about. So if you've seen cars pull out a line and go by, that's absolutely okay, so long as you are deserving of it. So that's all happened. I think we'll get Andrew Davis in the GS car. What car is Andrew in? He's in the number 8, isn't he? The red, white and black Porsche. I think we'll get him recycled to the front of the field. They'll do a split very quickly, put the GS cars back at the front. There's a few further back who are a lap down at the moment. So let's see if that gets done as well. But I reckon we'll be racing again with a little over 20 minutes to go, as the number 88 Quake Estate sponsored Hyundai of Canada car, Hyundai Racing Canada car, and Bob Attrell goes behind the wall.
Yeah, hats off to those guys. I mean, they had all sorts of problems yesterday, hardly got any running at all in that car, and they come out today and given a really good account of themselves. Yeah, they had that sort of a gift at the start where he probably should have been called a penalty for being out of sync, out of his line at the start, but hey, he was at the back of the field in any case, so hats off to race control for giving him that pass there. And since then he'd run some really good laps. So the youngster Connor Attrell, and then handing over to his dad. So it'll be a disappointing end to the day for them, but it's turned some very competitive lap times, and it's been a really good showing for that team. I know I spoke to Bob yesterday he was a little bit disappointed with the problems they'd had, mainly electrical issues, but also some fuel system difficulties as well, just because everything's different on this car. They're used to running sprint races. This is the first time they've run a long distance race like this, but to overcome those problems and run well today, hats off to you guys, well done.
We'll go green next time around, I reckon. The GS class split is happening right now, but we have just crossed the start-finish line with the Corvette C8 safety car, so I reckon we'll have just on 20 minutes, 20 minutes to run for the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park 120 for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Sports Car Challenge for 2022. Let's give you a rundown of how it stands then. In TCR, Mason Filippi for Brian Herter Autosport leads. Brian Herter Autosport 1, 2, 3, 4, all with Hyundai Elantas. The 77, Mark Wilkin is in the 33, Harry Gottsacker in the 98, Michael Lewis in the number 1. Now, they're all teammates, but they're all racing. There are no team orders in Brian Herder Autosport. Ideally, don't run into your teammate, but that has happened in the past, and happened just a few minutes ago, or earlier on in this race, when the number 98 and 77 got together. I don't think it was Mason Filippi and Harry Gottsacker who was driving there, it was their two teammates, but there was a little bit of vinyl traded from them. So there is the opportunity to still see a bit of bump and grind at the sharp end of that field. First non-BHA Hyundai is the Audi RS3 LMS sequential, the original version of Unitronics and Mikey Taylor. That's the number 17 car, Unitronic JDC Miller Motorsport. That's the yellow and white car. That's the colours you'll spot from a distance. Then we're back to Ryan Norman in the number 2 Brian Herter car. That's the car with the blue front and the red and white down the sides. That eggshell blue is the N for Nürburgring. And for Nankeng as well, the Research and Development Centre for Hyundai Motors. Then it's Carl Whitmer in the number 99 Victor Gonzalo Racers Honda Civic, that's the 99. Stephen Simpson in the number 54 Michael Johnson Racing Hyundai. And then another of the RS3s, the originals, Denny Dupont, who was very quick when he got into that Belgard and Techniseal machine. In 9th place, top 10 made up by KMW with the Alpha. This brings the Alpha back into it as well. They'll all be line astern. And finally, John Morley for Road Shagger Racing. At the front of the field, it's Eric Voss and Christian Shimczak for the 56 and 72, the two orange cars. Watch Trent Hinman on the restart in the yellow Aston Martin. Watch Aaron Thielitz in the red, white and black GR Gazoo Racing Super GT4 from Riley Motorsports. And watch the pink PF Racing car, but particularly watch the white and green Rebel Rock Racing Chevy Camaro, the number 71, because Robin Liddell is in with a sniff of something here. They won here, they have won here in the past, and Robin would like to be on the top step of the podium again and gets a really nice restart in behind the PF Racing car at the front of the field. It was a very good start by the leader, Eric Voss, with just on 21 minutes as they went across the line in this race. The green flag, Owen Trinkler into the pits off the end of that full course yellow. Remember, the pits did not open.
Yeah, I think he probably needed a splash of fuel, because you remember he took over from Ted Giovannis right at the 40-minute mark into this race, so he would have needed some fuel. He was a lap down in any case, so disappointing day for that team, but he, I'm sure, just needed a splash, so hopefully he can get going again and finish the race.
And yeah, he hasn't come out of the pits yet, so that's
he hasn't, has he? I just noticed that.
A bit of a worry. Keep an eye on that.
Meanwhile, Eric Voss then running in the lead of this race. Just amazing consistency this team has shown. Over the last 70 races back to 2015, they've finished top 10 55 times, which is pretty darn impressive. 28 top 5s amongst that string as well. And they've already had one race win this season. And Eric Voss trying to put some pressure on the number 7 team in the battle for the overall championship.
Position change there as the 4th place has just gone the way of Michael Lewis, getting ahead of Mikey Taylor. Don't check that. It was Mikey Lewis getting ahead of Harry Gottsacker, the number 1 car, ahead of its teammate. And that was for 3rd position. That was for 2nd position. My apologies. The number 1 car going through ahead of the 98. So it is still Mark Wilson. Lovely bit of overtaking. Hyundai on Hyundai. Just coming through to the end of the lap. Nasty moment a second or two ago with the front end getting out of line for the number 77 of Mason Filippi. And that's dropped him down. Yeah, dropped him well back.
Yeah, well, has it? Yeah, because he was leading he from the pole and was leading this race. So they've had no luck at all, that number 77 team this season. Had 4 pole positions, but a best finish so far of just 7th place. It was 7th, 8th and a 9th. So they are much, much, much faster than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. Trent Hinman keeping the leaders honest, the two Murillo Racing cars, and he's just pulled a little bit of room on the Riley Motorsports Aaron Thielitz driven Toyota Supra, but Aaron responding with a very good final sector last time around. Bob Attrell for the Hyundai Racing Canada 88 is back in the pit lane. It was fuel and tyres for Owen Trinkler, and also I saw that the number 8 car had been off at turn 2. That was Andrew Davis for McCann Racing. It's dropped him back down a wee bit as well behind the TCR cars. So that car has dropped out of contention at the sharp end of the GS field. But the top 10 in GS after the restart still within 8.6 seconds. The TCRs just as close.
Yeah, but in the lead for the second week running, Mark Wilkins in car number 33.
Traffic becoming an issue now, and the TCRs starting to catch the back of the GS, the slightly slower GS cars.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure whether they will do, because we've got all the pro drivers now in the GS car, in the GT car, GT4s. So there shouldn't really be any stragglers. They should be able to stay ahead and not interfere, one hopes, with the TCR battle.
Battle for third in TCR at the final corner. This is going to be contact. It is contact, and it's a damaged left front for the Unitronics machine. Came from again from a long way back there. It is so hard to judge that, and he's not moving. I think it's broken the left front steering arm on that car. The number 17, a big sideways moment for the third place Hyundai of Harry Gottsack. He was getting the run from turn 9, got to the right hand side to the apex. Big wide entry from the number 98, so it looks like the door's open.
No,
but it's not there.
Way too optimistic. No, it's not. Yeah, I completely agree with you, John. It was just way too optimistic there from Mikey Taylor. And, you know, he's got a fast car. He's set the fastest lap of the race. He's still got, well, nearly 15 minutes remaining in this race. Didn't need to make that lunge there, I don't think. He wasn't really close enough to dive down the inside. He certainly wasn't alongside in the braking, at the end of the braking area, at the turning point. So, that was...
left front tyre is gone, and I think he was thinking about getting back to the pits, but it would have been a whole lap. He's pulled off almost behind the wall down towards turn 1. If he can reverse from there and get it under or beside the wall and out of the direct firing line, as it were. Yes, he has. Oh, that's brilliant work. I don't think we need to go yellow here, Jeremy. I think that's covered by the left-hand side wall running down to turn 1. So a mistake in the first place, I would say. Somewhat optimistic. Low percentage lunge, as the responsible adult calls it. But Mikey Taylor has redeemed himself there by getting the car out of the way. Not as far as the team, and they really needed a result as well.
Yeah.
But that now leaves the top 4 as still the Brian Herter Autosport Hyundais, and now the first non-BHA Hyundai is the Victor Gonzalez Honda, who, remember, stayed out for ages and ages and ages and ages, and then for a few minutes more before Carl Whitmer took over from Victor Gonzalez in the VGRT machine, and he sits in 5th position ahead of a very rapid Denis Dupont in the Belgarden Techniseal Audi in 6th position. Can they break the stranglehold of Hyundai at the front of the race?
Yeah, the two battling leaders here. Mark Wilkins under intense pressure here from the defending series champion and second in the points now, because they lost the points lead with the problem last time out at Watkins Glen. Drive time issue they had at Watkins Glen, dropped into the back number 1 car for Michael Lewis and Taylor Hagler.
Yeah, and Robert Liddell's up into 5th and has just set the fastest overall lap of the race, 1:23.144. He's got past Chad McCumbee for PF Racing, and now he's 1.2 seconds behind Aaron Tillett, but the time is running down. 13 minutes still to go, and he is, and you say that, of course, he's still only 3.5 seconds away from the leaders, so any stumble, any issue, any traffic, and Liddell could be right there. Trent Hinman still keeping the two leaders honest. He's not on the tailpipes, he's not on the bumper, but the top four on the same part of the Mario Andretti straight, heading under the Canadian Tire walkover bridge. There go the leaders. Then wait, there's the third place car, there's the fourth, and there's the fifth. As quickly as I can say that, that's the gaps. That's what 3/4 of a second and half a second and a second actually means in terms of the cars at speed on that back straight section of the race. Across the line with 12 minutes and 18 seconds to go. And Trent Hinman, I think, is being caught a little bit by Aaron Thielitz here, but they are not making ground on the two AMG GT4s ahead of them, Jeremy.
No, because the race leader Eric Foss has just heard his best lap of the race on this last lap, on the lap 68. So he's kept a little bit in hand, perhaps, as Eric Foss. Super drive by both him, I think, and Mark Miller, who started this car. And now it's up to Eric Foss to bring it home. Christian Schimzak, though, is still right there in second position. Super battle between these two. As you say, Trent Hinman there running in third position, but he's going to be having his hands full of not only Aaron Thielitz, but also Robin Liddell as well. 1:23.144, by the way, new fastest lap. That is a new lap record. The record was stands back in 2019 to Gregory Learfuge and Aston Martin.
That's Robin Liddell, by the way, that we're talking about for that in the number 71 Urban Grid Rebel Rock racing car. We've got to pick our Michelin moment of the race. It might not have happened yet. Has it been defined? TCR and in GS. I'm going to throw a really weird one in for TCR. Just because I think it's great for the team. I think the tooth car leading overall is a real moment of the race for them. Brand new team into the series, learning all the way along. They're not going to get the result that they would have liked today, but it was nice to see them not only leading TCR, but actually leading the race overall. I'll give my co-commentators a chance to think of a couple of ideas. Shea says for GS. Shea, what have you got for GS?
So I've got two. I've got a weird one in Michael McCann's opening stint, where the number 8 Porsche went from, 8th on the grid to 2nd. And my other one is kind of the obvious one, Guerrilla Racing. They qualified 3 cars in the top 5, and they've got 1-2 right now on the track.
Yeah, very good. I'll let Jeremy think about that for a moment or two. As we get down to the last 10 minutes, off right in front of the leaders, and it's a big bouncy moment for one of the Club Sport Caymans. It's the purple and white hardpoint number 22. Oh my goodness me, they've had no luck whatsoever, and that was nearly a very big moment. And again, it's the top of the hill at turn number 3. Sean McAllister somehow holding on to a booking Bronco of the purple and white car, sliding sideways. How close to the tyres without hitting that? Did it actually clip the left rear Michelin on that tyre bundle, Jeremy? If not, yes it did. It's just detached the left rear corner of the bumper. My goodness me, he needs to put the lottery on tonight, because that was absolutely fortunate for him.
Yeah, unfortunately, he already did the job properly yesterday in the practice session. There he had a big crash, missed qualifying as a result of that, so he's already hit the wall once. That time at least it was only a nick. Yesterday wasn't a nick, it was a big shunt. Yeah, he was a lap down, that car, at this stage in the race, but he certainly gained some experience there. Sean McAllister raced the Shell top-up car last season, you might remember, in the last few years, in the Porsche series, GT3 Cup series. But a new best lap of the race, by the way, by our race leader last time around, incrementally faster. I mean, Nats Whisker, it was again 1:23.66. This time it was 1:23.664 for Eric Foss, his new best lap of the race. But those top 5 cars now are all pretty tightly matched.
They have to be, because Robin Liddell is close right up on them now. He's only a 1/10 of a second away from Aaron Thielitz for 4th position. Is there a podium beckoning here for the Urban Grid Rebel Rock race? Racing at number 71 Camaro? Maybe that's the a moment of the race as Liddell is charging through the field. What about that first stint in GS from the Toyota and Faneshi, who did a great job not having the track knowledge compared to others. That's a good shout as well, coming from Rob, our producer in London. He likes to keep an eye on these things as well.
Tim Probert too, for me, is another worth a shout on that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I mean, look, it doesn't have to be the people who win their classes, and quite often it isn't on the Michelin moment of the race. We've got about 5 minutes before we've got to let the responsible adult know where the new set of tyres in TCR-T and in GS are going. At the front of the TCR field, half a second seems like a bit of a cushion for Mark Wilkins over Michael Lewis at the moment, and certainly 1.4 seconds back to Harry Gottsacker. That's not a cushion, that's a full three-piece suite in the context of what we've seen in the last half an hour or so. And at the front of the field, it's still just 2 tenths. Is Trent Hindman coming back? I'm not sure. Still about 9 tenths, 8 tenths a second. He's been pressed by Tielitz, and Robin Liddell's right there. They're all on the front straight together. That is your front 5. Then there's a gap back to 6th place, the bright pink PF Racing car. That's about 6 seconds. Leaders coming into a little bit of traffic. Now this is the danger time. Some GT4 traffic ahead as they're coming up to, that must be Owen Trinkler. Well, Owen will have his wits about him. Also got the Tooth Racing car, I think, out there as well. Tooth Autosport car, Eddie Killeen. So those are the 2 cars that they're coming up to catch in turn 5. So this is where the leaders need to keep their wits about them. This is potentially an opportunity for Robin Liddell, who's gone past the Aaron Tielitz Riley Motorsports car already. So Liddell up to 4th and is charging. He's now got sight of a podium position. It's easy to spot because it's bright yellow and it's the Volt Aston Martin. And Liddell, the Scotsman from the border country originally, and closing in on a podium at a track, Jeremy Shaw, that Rebel Rock Racing have tasted success at in the past.
They have, and I would love to do so again here. Watching at TCR, the Alpha has been making up places. Tim Lewis up to 6th position now in that number 5 car. He's about 5 seconds behind Mark Wilkins, and with only 5 minutes remaining in this race, I don't think he could probably win it, but a podium, possibly.
We're going to keep our powder dry for a moment on our Michelin moments of the race. So here come the leaders to put a lap on the Team GGM car. It's Owen Trinkler. The TCR leaders, by the way, have just gone across the start-finish line. Still with that 1.4 second gap back to 3rd place. And still, the top 4 is Brian Herter Autosport. No, actually, it's not. Of course, now, because we've got Victor Gonzalez Racing in 4th position. So, can Carl Whitmer, just 6 tenths away, can he get on the podium? Maybe that's a opportunity for Michelin moment of the race after that extremely long run without the pit stop, right to the half distance mark from Victor Gonzalez Racing Team and Victor Gonzalez himself. Carl Whitmer with a chance of a podium here.
That Camaro is fast, and Trent Hindman there going a little bit defensive into that final couple of corners, making sure there's no room for Robin Liddell to do any kind of a dive bomb pass here.
Caught the leaders though, Jeremy. They're catching the leaders.
Yes, indeed.
They're about half the gap. Now, who's got the tyre life yet left for this last 2 or 3 laps? It looks to me as though it's been a measured charge back. A charge, but a measured charge, not a complete sort of banzai move from Robin Liddell. He's picked everybody off, and now he gets alongside Trent for a moment, but then drops back into line. Looks to me as though the leader, Eric Voss, is just starting to struggle with the tyres underneath him a little bit, particularly under braking. Liddell right there on Hindman, a little bit of a bump into the second part of Moss Corner, turn 5. Now, those AMGs, oh, side by side from the two AMGs at the front of the field. That is going to slow them down. It makes them very difficult to pass, but I think this is Christian Simchak who's going round the outside of turn 8 on his teammate. Oh my goodness me, with probably one more lap to go at the end of this. And that has allowed Trent Hinman and Robin Liddell right onto the tail, and don't count out Aaron Tielitz either, because he's not too far back. So the gloves are off, Jeremy, in the Murillo Racing camp.
Yeah, 2 laps to go, and super consistent by our race leader until that lap he lost about half a second. The previous 3 laps were all within thousandths of a second for the race leader Eric Foss, but I don't really made a slight mistake down at Moss Hairpin that enabled Shimjak to get a run on him up the hill. But now it's Shimjak who's got his mirrors full of not only the Aston Martin, he can't miss that bright yellow car, but also Robin Liddell, and Aaron Tielitz is closing in as well as a result of that. He's just gone purple in the final sector as Aaron Tielitz.
Wow. So that means he's had a good run onto the first part of the lap in that red, white and black Gazoo Racing South America GT4 Supra. Really been a good run for the Supra today. They've done a great job, particularly with their opening driver. Now once again, we've just spread a little bit, but we've got the number 8 car. This is Andrew Davies, McCann Racing ahead of them. Well, Andrew is a experienced driver as well. It will be white flag this time around. We're coming down to the lap time right now of 1:24, so it'll be under that. Andrew trying to stay out the way of the leader, almost puts himself into the pit lane there. That was very unselfish. Let them, in fact, he did come into the pits. That's very unselfish for Andrew. White flag is out, and there's a mistake on the final corner. As we head on to the last lap, Eric Foss just putting the left-hand side Michelins into the dirt and throwing up a huge dust cloud. Now, do they hold position, these two? What has Trent Hinman got in third, and can Robin Liddell get on the podium? Liddell looks down the inside at the bottom of the hill at turn 2. It's not a passing manoeuvre I've seen before. Trent Hinman is defending into every corner now, has to. He's coming from the middle of the road. Maybe he's struggling with a bit of tyre grip as well. And Robin Liddell with maybe one more opportunity. Last corner, or can he do something at turn 5? He's very quick in the second part of turn 5, but it's so tight here. He's going to have a look down the inside, and he nudges the back of the Volt Aston Martin, pushes that offline just a little bit. Trent Hinman, though, covered the exit of that corner and gets a really good exit. Meantime, at the front, Eric Foss has got 1.5, call it 2, maybe almost 3 cars lengths now. And here comes Aaron Tielitz. He's getting a huge draft down the Mario Andretti straight into turn 8. Final time, there's 2 more corners. 56 Murillo, Eric Foss leads. Surely he's not going to throw this away now. One more corner, it's the right-hander. He comes through. The top 5 are going to be within 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds. It's Murillo 1 and 2, Volt Racing 3, 4 is Rebel Rock, and 5 is Riley Motorsports. 2 Mercedes, an Aston Martin, a Chevy Camaro and a Toyota Supra within 1.5 seconds. A Mustang in 4th position, in 6th position, excuse me, for PF. Then the first of the Porsches and a BMW. 7 different manufacturers in the top 8. Here's TCR coming to the line. What a week it's been for Robert Wiggins and Mark Wilkins, winners last time out. Under a week ago, Robert Wiggins with his firstborn just at the start of the race weekend, and they'll go 2 for 2 in the Canada Day and July 4th weekend, back-to-back. Marvellous stuff. It's the number 1 car that comes home in 2nd place. Michael Lewis brings that one home, and the 98 in 3rd makes it a clean sweep off the podium for Brian Hurt at Autosport. Magnificent stuff. And Robert Wiggins gets to stand atop a podium. It was a wee while coming, but he's back on twice in 2 races and twice in a week, Jeremy.
Yeah, tremendous. We wonder whether the floodgates might open. 2 wins in a row then for this Canadian pairing. The first race, well, just south of Canada, just over the lake there at Watkins Glen. But that was a tremendous performance by both of these two. Mark Wilkins had a lot of pressure towards the end there for Michael Lewis, defending series champion. but that's exactly what he was looking for here for Robbie Wickens. Wow, you know, he was pretty pleased with his performance last weekend and should be again now. Great effort by both of those guys, and a tremendous day for the Brian Herder Autosport with Kerbager Jeggy team. 1, 2, 3, 4 in TCR.
1, 2, 3 with, was it not, with Carl Whitner in 4th position at the end there for the Honda Civic. I'll check the other timing screen. Shea Adam, meantime, is with one of the winning teams at least. Shea, where are you?
I'm with Mark Miller, and yeah, I want to walk with you because it's to the top step of the podium. And 1-2 for Murillo Racing. How great does this feel?
You know, it's pretty surreal for me because, you know, like before yesterday, I hadn't sat in the car. So, but you know, Murillo Racing, like I said yesterday, they are a top-notch group. It was really special to be able to fill in for Jeff. I would give this up for Jeff to be able to be in the car, but it feels good to be able to, you know, fill in for him and just do a good job. I feel bad for Kenny, who led his whole stint because he was just rock solid and saved a great amount of fuel. And it was just fun race overall. But to get a 1-2 here at Mosport, this is obviously one of my favorite tracks. I raced here quite a bit in Canadian stock cars, Formula 1200. Haven't been back here since 17, so this is a nice return, I think, 5 years later.
Yeah, I think they'd better start using you more often. Congrats, Mark.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, let's hustle down to the TCR winners. Always easy to find Brian Herder. Well, come on then, Jeremy and Shea, if you pop your mic back open again whilst you're walking. Let's have your Michelin moment of the race for GS from everything that we've had. Shea, what's your nomination?
I'm going to stick with Tim Probert and give it to him because that opening stint from him was something special. And I'm just going to see if I can dive in. Robbie, we're making a habit of this. 2 weeks in a row, race winner, but this time north of the border. How much more special is it?
I don't know what's more special, that it's in Canada or the circumstances that we did it today. I mean, honestly, I can't thank everyone at Brian Herder Autosport enough for not only giving me the freedom to not be here yesterday for the birth to my first child, but to get the win. Mark just drove such a great job. The car was awesome. They set up the car so well without me there, so all I had to do was just get in and keep the car out of trouble, and Mark did the rest.
Hey, congrats, and we look forward to the little one learning to swim up in Lake Country soon.
Me too. Thank you.
Not sure Eric Foss is meant to kidnap the VP Racing Fuels checkered flag and take it for a run round the paddock, but that's what he's doing at the moment. GS moment of the race for you, Jeremy. Do you go with Tim Probert? You're going to offer up something else?
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of great causes, but look, I love to give you things like this to somebody different. I think it was a tremendous effort by him, and particularly as the race was taken out of their grasp for he and Brent Mosing there by a mechanical problem. Let's give them a little bit of a carrot here. Yeah, I'll vote for that as well. But lots of standout performances. Number 14 team, again, a really good run by them, and lots of good efforts.
And what about TCR from you, Jeremy?
TCR, gosh, there's so much happened in this race. Yeah, look again, a tremendous effort, I think, by Tooth Autosport. A great second ever race at this level. Well, no, they've done a few races in the past, haven't they? But a really good effort it's been this weekend for them. Led the race overall, and that was a tremendous performance. And and it's moment of the race, so you're making the decision to come in kind of off strategy, although everybody else came in at the same time during that first caution period. They didn't need to come in at that stage, and they called all the strategic calls just right.
Spot.
Led the race, as I say, brilliant drive. Made a lot of passes as well.
So that's the 26 TCR Tooth Autosport for the strategy and for leading the race overall, never mind the TCR very early on in their IMSA career, and it will be Murillo Racing. I mean, you could give it to all of Murillo Racing, to be honest, but Tim Probert in particular for qualifying in that first stint. It didn't go their way in terms of what happened later on. So that would be the 65 car for Murillo Racing with their two other team members on first and second on the podium. So there are your winners for the Michelin Moment of the race, and we'll make sure they get a brand new set of racing tyres. Everyone coming back towards the paddock and to the victory circle, which is down at the end of pit lane. What a race, Jeremy. What a race. 7 different manufacturers in the top 8 overall. Late race restarts, 29 minutes to go, or 20 minutes to go rather, giving us plenty of excitement. Robin Liddell charging back through the field as seemingly only Robin Liddell can, but you can't take anything away from Murillo Racing. Top 2 and our Michelin Moment of the race, they'll think that was a decent weekend.
Yeah, it was. It was a great race. I mean, we talked about at the beginning, if it's a nice, clean race, let's hope for a nice, clean race, because we've had various incidents in recent events. So that was certainly that today. We had, there was just there were a couple of brief full course cautions, but nothing too major. And for the most part, just a really tremendous race of great driving. And that was a lot of fun.
Shea Adam is in the melee. We'll see if we can grab one more interview before we wrap things up. It's been a cracking Super Saturday. Let's head to Jeremy for the points then, whilst we see if anyone else turns up to talk to Shea. Jeremy, how's it standing in GS?
In GS, Alan Brynjolfsson and Trent Hinman, that Volt Racing Aston Martin, they have their lead trimmed now, 1,780 points to the 1,690 of Eric Foss. Eric Foss, of course, has 3 different co-drivers, so he's running solo there in the points table. They are now pulling away from Kenny Murillo and Christian Schimjack, who will move up into 3rd position. They're about 270 points behind Eric Foss, so a brilliant day for that Murillo Racing team. In the manufacturer points, by the way, in GS, things are tightening up there. Aston Martin lead on 1870. With the win today, I reckon Mercedes will vault from 4th to 2nd on 1820. 1790 for Porsche, 1710 for BMW, so super tight there in the GS manufacturer battle. In TCR, with the 2nd place finish today, Michael Lewis and Taylor Hagler will move back ahead of Roy Block and Tim Lewis Jr., having trailed coming into this weekend narrowly, back into the points lead there. But again, all things tightening up there, 1690 to 1650. And then on 1600 apiece are Harry Gottsicker and Parker Chase, and with 2 wins back-to-back, Robbie Wickens as well. So the top 4 teams in TCR covered now by just 90 points, and remember that's 10 times more than the old system that we used to have, so that's pretty tight.
Very tight indeed, very tight indeed. Let's speak to someone else who'll stand on the podium on the 3rd step of the box. Trent Hinman is with Shea Adam. Great run for the Volt Racing Aston Martin.
And a great points day at the end of it. Trent, you've got to be happy with this one. It's a trophy and still in the championship.
It is, it certainly is. And just thrilled with the Volt Racing guys and the Wright Motorsports team. That was probably the hardest that I had to drive all year. It was such a hard defensive fight. The Murillo guys, congrats to them. They really had good pace today. Obviously, I saw Robin coming, and he's always a tough guy to race with. So I'm just happy that the race ended when it did. And just grateful for a great team and everybody pulling together to make this one happen.
Were you running out of tires a bit there at the end?
I'm sorry?
Were you running out of tires there at the end?
Yeah, I think everybody was. And, I mean, the repave here at CTMP has been really good. Nobody really got a super long run in practice, so you weren't too sure what was going to happen really until the race. You're kind of going in blind. So lots of good data for next year. Looking forward to coming back. Looking forward to getting racing again here at the CTMP.
4 podiums on the season so far. You're stringing together a good one. Good luck at Lime Rock.
Trying. Just it's all down to the team, all down to the Volt Racing guys. And we're just going to keep doing what we're doing.
We're going to hand over 90.7 FM and the PA in a moment or two, but not before we've said thank you very much to you for turning out this Saturday here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and wherever you've been listening and watching around the world. It's been fabulous to have your company. Shea Adam was down in the pit lane for us for the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park 120 and the latest round of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Sports Car Challenge for 2022. We move on to another short track, the Bull Ring that is Lime Rock Park. That's the next time we'll see these cars out. But don't forget, tomorrow we have the WeatherTech Sports Car Challenge for you. Michelin Countdown to Green and the full race live, and we'll have a bit of coverage of the warm-up for you as well. Thank you to our technical team, our camera operators on site, those who have done all the hard work at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park and done all the clever and arty stuff further afield. That comes out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Jason, thank you very much for all your hard work as well down there. And it was Rob Lomas who was up in London making sure that our sound went to the world. As ever, Eve Hewitt is the responsible adult, and Jeremy Shaw and I say thank you to her, as does Shea, and I say thank you to my co-commentators. We'll see you at Lime Rock Park for the next one of the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and we'll be back tomorrow for the big one. Yes, the Sunday race. Join us then. Bye-bye.